Okay, so I hit the button.
Sure.
I hit the go button, but I haven't actually changed any of the information on YouTube.
Oh,
So
no.
I'm gonna think of a title real quick. What was I gonna call it earlier? I was gonna use a Los Campesinos lyric because I just got the new album Sixteens, and it's really good. It's everyone wants to say this oh yeah, the new album is always like the best album, but I think in this case it might actually be it is definitely one of their best albums, and they're one of my favorite bands, and I missed their show because it was out in Vancouver, and it's completely implausible to make a 16-hour drive through the mountains in February.
I need to
Canada.
listen to more music. You did a video of music recommendations I should probably check out.
The funny thing is, I feel like woefully underqualified for those kind of advice. People it's what music should I listen to? I'm like, dude, I feel so out of touch about what's good. So, hey everybody, I should tweet this out. Also, I should think of it's unfair.
I should probably also be tweeting this.
All right, there we go. I got the title. It's unfair to be an overflow for empty. Also, why does it say I'm offline? That is weird. YouTube. Am I offline or am I online? It's got me. Authentication expired. What?
YouTube user foldable human is not a shit.
And my mic's on right channel only. My mic probably just got unplugged.
Oh dear. Audio interfaces. Okay.
There, the mic should be fixed. I was mucking around with cables, and it got just kind of lightly nudged and fell halfway out of the port. Yeah. It's the one sort of compelling reason I can think of to actually get a dedicated sound card with big phono plugs is that they're not gonna just slip out when you or locking get BNC audio. So it's locking caps. Yeah.
I just have a USB.
And now people are saying it's loud.
Yeah, you got super loud for a sec. I think it's fixed now.
It might have been. It might have been a burst, or it was probably. I could see people probably turned things up when it was quiet, and then it got fixed, and they're like, "Oh crap, my volume's too high." Something like that. Come on. I need to figure out. Okay.
Can I get that Spirit's Fine song out of my head that you keep using and stuff? It's good. That's all I was going to say. We just said a thing about music 10 minutes ago, and I just brought it back up.
And everything else, and okay, now the actual now I can do the actual tweet thing. We're go. Here's link. Also, and
all cheats and the fish costume.
Yep. So actually, one of the things that I was going to start this off with, and I was thinking, I was originally planning on being halfway through this and just kind of in media res, oh, hello there, at the startup here. But so there's a thing in the arena. So this is one of the features that they added with 2. And funny enough, so this actually, I just realized, is in fact leaving everything turned on and is not doing what I wanted it to do. I need to turn something off real quick, because if I'm turning everybody to stone, that is not going to do... Wait. Urn of Gaia. Yeah, Urn of Gorgias. I want that off. I want that
Have you played a lot of God of War in your time?
This is part of actually what I wanted to start off with here is asking that question of like, okay, how much God of War has Dan played over the time? I'm gonna turn my TV down, just so that that's not bleeding over into the audio, into the speaker. Okay, so this should trip pretty quick. The thing that I'm going to show. So what we're doing here is you got these cyclopses, and if you hit them enough times, the quick time pops up, and then you can jump on them and do a little quick time, and then you pull out their eye. And one of the achievements in this game is to pull out 20 of these suckers. Now, it's actually like almost impossible to get during the actual play of the game, purely because in this one, in God of War 2, there are only like 3 Cyclops, like in the entire game.
Wow. Okay. Apparently the game is a little too loud.
The game is a little too loud. All right, I will turn the game. All right, we'll turn the game way down. We don't really need. We just need it as kind of ambient here. Because this is just where there's no dialogue. It's just Kratos' grunting and swinging and chopping and these guys yelling and be like, oh, and I screwed that up. That was the wrong button. Now it's 2.
So.
Oh yeah, you're probably. I don't have mix minus, so
yeah,
I can't.
Yeah,
I can't route it to you.
It's all right. I'm trying to remember who is the voice actor for God of War 2, God of War Man.
I don't remember. I'm really bad at keeping track of like voice actors and you know who's doing what. Like, I really only am even kind of familiar with like the most well-known ones, and even then, half the time, like even if it's like Tara Strong, I don't watch something and go like, oh hey, that's Tara Strong. Like I have to look it up and be like, oh, that was Tara Strong. You know, I'm not even one of the people who can like I can't recognize Nolan North even at like first blush.
Something I hate about Wikipedia is that like with movies it'll go, you know, Dan Jensen in brackets Richard Marcus or whatever, like that his name. But with games, even if they have a voice actor, they don't do that. So I'm trying to figure out who a minor character was in the game's Second Sight, because I think he voices the main character in Time Splitters, and I have no way of knowing because of Wikipedia. Just like apparently games aren't art enough yet to tell us who voiced the person. And
the voice actors are not considered legitimate enough. I mean, and that's actually like that's an ongoing controversy. Like they're fighting for that right now. Is this like, hey, we actually contribute just as much to these games, like particularly now with mocap, or I shouldn't say now with mocap, like over the last, you know, almost a decade now with mocap, like they are actors, and it's like, hey, you've started going to actual like Hollywood actors to get them in your video, like to get them in your games purely for that actor brand recognition. So maybe treat your people who started in video games with the same kind of respect.
And then there's the other layer of you have the really high profile mocap actors like Andy Serkis, kind of not counting the importance of the technicians who work with them to make the roles. And on that same note, the Wikipedia page for Time Splitters Future Perfect, which I've now gone to try and find Cortez's voice actor, lists 2 programmers as the programmers. So 2 people made Time Splitters 3.
I mean, it's... I can see boiling down to like, okay, well, here's the producer, here's the director, in the same way that you do movies, where it's like, all right, we can't, like on the Wikipedia page, we can't, it's like, so, Lord of the Rings, made by the following 1,200 people.
Yeah, but this is like developers, Free Radical, publishers, Electronic Arts, directors, lists 2, programmers, 2, artists, 1. Composers, 2. That's it. Game
Yeah, so I
done.
mean that's going to be doing that is department heads though. So
Yeah,
that's
I
kind of
suppose.
I mean we do
I
that in
guess, yeah.
movies as well.
Yeah. Also, like, having 2 composers on your game is a pretty big deal. I mean, I think for the most part, Assassin's Creed is still all Jesper Kyd. I think. At least it should be. He's pretty good. He was the best part of the first Hitman game.
I have a couple of the Hitman games. I haven't actually gotten around to playing them yet. Someone sent me a copy of they had a spare copy of Absolution. So or wait, is it Absolution? Whichever's the one with like the bondage nuns.
Oh yeah, that's Absolution. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, immediately I recognized. Although actually no, nuns of that variety are also in Blood Money, which is the one good one basically. But I would only really recommend the new one. Hitman Codename 47 is a very bad video game, but with like weird industrial elements in the soundtrack in some ways that are pretty cool, and you can see that this guy is really, really talented and is just making music for whatever games he can. He also made games for like a Genesis port of one of the Batman games that's really good for some reason. I've listened to the Dark Theater soundtrack a lot. I'm gonna try and remember the name of some of the Batman soundtrack thing I listened to a lot.
Oh, one of the things that's likely to happen with the VOD of this stream, and it happened with the last one actually, is the last one got copyright claimed.
Wow.
Just like hijacked monetization, but it's because the cutscenes. So the game's composer has all of the game's soundtrack in Content ID. So the cutscenes, which use the certain tracks from the soundtrack, end up triggering Content ID.
YouTube won't let me link to even other YouTube in its YouTube chat app, but basically it's called the Dark Studio theme. Basically, Hitman's best quality feature for years was its fucking music because the gameplay wasn't finished. Each game is like a beta for the next one, and then eventually they're like, hey,
I've heard that.
Maybe we should just make a good one. So they did. It was good. They did a really good thing with the way they released it. I think the complete package is in many ways a worse game because they hand you everything in a way where I feel like that makes it easier to not appreciate it as much, whereas the staggered release that we got over the past year is like you're kind of forced to actually appreciate the game in ways that no one ever did with the other ones unless they got really into Blood Money.
Mm-hmm.
But so I have not played that much God of War, but I remember quite liking how like it was basically baby's first this kind of game.
Yeah. As I discovered, so I had played a lot of God of War, and then I pulled up some of the actual like Japanese entries in the genre, like Devil May Cry and Bayonetta, and I quickly realized that I had been playing Babby's first Twitch action. I don't even know what they like call this. Because like action, it's an action game. So they're all action games.
It's a character action game, maybe, kind of.
Know.
I don't know if that's really, if you could even.
Is that like?
I don't know.
Like Bayonetta, like I fired up Bayonetta, and I thought I was doing like really well in Bayonetta, and I'd get to the end level ratings, and it would be like B-, C, and I'd be like, what? I ripped that whole level a new asshole. And it'd just be like, The
scoring systems in
B+.
those games.
It's like, what the hell?
Very upsetting to me. People have a lot of apparently justifiable problems with the new Devil May Cry, and one of the ones I didn't get was, you can get a really high rating for playing it really badly. I'm like, yeah, I don't care. I just want to have a fun time playing it the way I want to, and in many ways the rating system annoys me. But I don't think God of War does ratings. It has like the hit stuff, but I don't think it goes at the end as like, here's your rank.
No, yeah, you've just got the hit chains.
I liked not being judged for my playing.
Yeah, it felt really. It was really kind of upsetting to be like, hey, I'm doing really well, and the game's just like, no, you're not by our standards. We expect you to be like literally inhuman with your physical capabilities.
It's kind of amazing the game doesn't give you any kind of rating despite the main weapon being called Blades of Judgment. Is that what they're called? Did I just make that up?
In this?
God of War.
No,
Yeah,
it's so you've got the Blades of Chaos
that's it.
in the first game,
Oh, the different blades, aren't they?
then the Blades of Athena in the third, and the Blades of Exile in. Which one's the Blades of Exile? Or is it the blade? There's three different sets of main blades, and then like a dozen sub weapons.
God. So
I lost count. I don't know how many Cyclopses I'm at here. I don't know
I
if I like am bugged or something.
I really like a strong contrast I've noticed in sort of games in which you control a man who hits things is like in the Souls games. And like early Castlevania, there's a lot of delay in actions where you have to learn to cue things up in a way that's difficult at first but way more satisfying. Whereas I feel like you
No,
can
I've been doing
block
this wrong.
in like a frame if you want to in God of War. I think that's not necessarily worse, but a bit less satisfying to me personally. But it also means you can block the thing if you want to, and that's kind of cool. And yeah,
I was doing that wrong.
well, yeah,
I wasn't even
you
paying
killed a lot of
attention.
Cyclopes. So
Yeah, no. So it needs to be the tyrant, not the brute.
oh my god, I have to do this again.
Yeah.
So is this just like you fight an infinite Cyclops?
Yeah, this
Oh
particular
right.
thing is well. So this is the Arena of the Fates. So this is one of the things that you get when you've like completed the game and unlocked a bunch of stuff. Actually, I think you get this after you complete the Trial of the Gods or whatever it's called in this game, and it basically lets you set a whole bunch of things. And so right now we have it set to it should be on infinitely spawning basically passive Cyclops tyrants.
Right. Oh god, did anyone here ever play Spartan Total Warrior? I do wonder how
Oh, and
that's
we've
going.
got okay, and I need to turn that off again. Urn of the Gorgons off, so it's not turning them to stone. All right. Yeah, it took me embarrassingly long to realize that that wasn't working because it's like, wait a second, you need to pull out their eyes, and this QTE is not pulling out their eyes. This QTE is just like stabbing them in the eye. That's a completely different thing. Also, even when the controller says that attack is turned to like off, they still attack. It's just they like don't aggressively attack.
So there are like three Cyclopses in the game, and you need to get 20 of their eyes, and their eyes are hard to get because it's a specific Cyclops and a specific way of attacking them. I see. Right. Cool. God of War 2.
Wait. Okay, that didn't give me the right QTE either.
People are asking if we've discussed JonTron yet.
Have we discussed JonTron? Oh, someone on Twitter was like, "So, do you have any comments about JonTron?" I was gonna just quote that tweet and be like, "Told you so."
Yeah.
Like we
I
said this
remember
2 years ago.
I do feel kind of bad for the folks who saw the JonTron Breitbart interview and were like, oh, he's still good. He's still good.
Yeah, it's
It's
like
fine.
no, dude. It's like what did you expect?
I mean, I remember like the first time, my first like real interaction with JonTron was I was watching a Game Grumps video for the first time ever because people kept saying how great they were. This was before they became mega huge, and they were playing Sonic, and John just said, "Look at all these blacks," and then laughed for a minute, and then the video ended. And that was I wanted to understand what level of irony he was operating on. The answer was none.
Yeah,
And kind of was downhill from there. I remember thinking his editing was pretty good in like 2012, and I tune in a couple of years later, and oh no,
okay,
oh no.
so in theory, we're gonna go to the actual game in a second here because I don't think this is working, and apparently I didn't plan ahead well enough. But so the thing that was supposed to happen here, and I'll show you all, and this will answer the question of like, okay, how much God of War has Dan played?
Wait, they didn't have trophies in God of War 2.
So let's see. There's God of War 2 at 97% because the only thing I'm missing is the platinum and Eyesore collect 20 Cyclops eyes. So that was supposed to be it, was that it would be like, hey, I'm in the middle of like collecting Cyclops eyes, and then shortly into the stream I would get the 20th, and it would trigger both that and the Platinum Trophy, so that would tip to 100%. God of War Ascension sitting at 98% purely because there's a multiplayer only. This hidden trophy right here is basically play the multiplayer tutorial, which is single player. Like, it's an offline tutorial, but you still need to have the online key. Remember multiplayer passes?
Yeah, I remember those.
So
Oh
here
God.
here this gets great. I was talking about this on Twitter. So
Yeah.
here is my God of War Ascension online pass. Now, back when I bought this game in 2013, I did not care about the online pass because like I'm never gonna play it. So a couple days ago, like last week, I'm like, you know what? Let's finish off the last couple things I've got here, the last couple achievements. And so I check this one. It's like you need the online pass. So I go and I enter the online pass in, and it doesn't do anything because it turns out that this is not an online pass. This is a coupon for an online pass. And it has an expiry date.
Jeez.
It's not an actual pass. It's a coupon for the pass. You buy the pass off the store, and this is a coupon for the pass that you buy off the store.
I'm struggling
Not
to
an actual
even
pass.
like this is it's stupid on a lot of levels because there's the level of it's a God of War game. Like, how do you make that work as a multiplayer?
Apparently the multiplayer, like, I never played it, so,
Yeah.
and I think, and okay, and I'm not going to spend $10 on, I'm not going to spend $10 on an online pass for a game that I can guarantee there are like 3 people playing multiplayer in.
I think 3 is a very high
Is a generous,
ceiling, but yeah.
there are more people playing Video Ball at this moment than there are playing God of War Ascension multiplayer.
I will destroy you.
I knew that would hurt.
Video ball. But I just realized that the one other piece of God of War Ascension I've ever seen is Frank trying to play it on House of Cards and also being unable to get online.
So there's God of War Ascension at 98%, God of War 2 at 97 because I need the Cyclops eyes. There's 3 at 100%. There's God of War 1 at 100%. There's Chains of Olympus at 88 and Ghost of Sparta only at 10 because I originally played Chains of Olympus and Ghost of Sparta on PSP, and so I managed to last week grab the Origins collection at an EB Games for $3. I feel like that was a fair price.
I can't help but notice that you've 50%ed Final Fantasy 13. Did you get halfway through and stop? Or...
No. So Final Fantasy 13 achievements, like 90% of these, or I shouldn't say 90. So like half of them, 50% of them are basically just straight.
Do the story.
Do the story, or I guess a third of them are do the story, then a whole bunch of them, now that I'm looking at here, so defied Destiny's charge and embarked on a different path. Okay, that's a story. Witnessed dawn of a new crystal legend, that's finished the game. Pulsian Pioneer, take over 10,000 steps on the lower world surface. I did actually play a lot of 13, but 10,000 steps is not a lot out in Grand Pulse. Like when you're running around Grand Pulse, like 10,000 steps is nothing.
When the game starts 20 hours in.
Yeah, exactly. Kelger's Cup, all level Seathstone missions, so that's basically doing the bounties. So that's a bit of a grind, but this is only the low level ones. And then let's see, what else do we have? Master, so each of the job basically levels someone up to max. Deal 10,000 with single attack. That's easy once you get Army of One. This is a gimme. This is gimme. Once you unlock Army of One, you get this. Discern the full attributes of 100 enemies. Oh, that's just use scan on like 100 different things. Which, saying that out loud is like immensely depressing. But then you get a lot of these others. So this is one of those games that it's like they kind of give you half just by playing it in good faith. and then the others are all like absurdly grindy. Now, if you want to see something, now here's one. Disgaea 3, 2%.
Oh no, that's beating the whole game.
2%, yeah, because so like beat floors 1 through 100 in an item world without exiting. Like that right there is about 4 hours
For one achievement.
for one achievement.
Yeah.
Beat floors 1 to 100 in a Land of Carnage item world without exiting. So, in order to access a Land of Carnage item world, like this one achievement right here represents like 100 hours of play just to be able to attempt it.
Oh god, I'm so glad I didn't get into Disgaea. There was a point in my life where I could have done, and a lot of time would have been invested in that, and it would have been a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, so there's so many of these are like item world ones, and they're absurd. Like when they don't sound that bad, like just off these summaries, defeat the pirate club in the item world, but it's like no, these are like random events in random dungeons in random items in it's so many layers of like nested randomness. It's like no, these actually represent like hundreds of hours. Do over 100 million damage.
God.
Do over 10 billion damage. Yeah. And then you do have a bunch that are actually like doable. Like so I haven't actually finished the story in Disgaea 3 because even just the story's like 100 hours long.
But it has a story, which is
It has a story. It does have a story. And the stories in Disgaea games, like I really wish they were more accessible. Disgaea 2 actually isn't that bad. You can clear if you basically grab a strategy guide that tells you like what jobs to level up so that you don't need to spend 100 hours learning the job system. If you use a guide that basically tells you like, hey, get one of these characters, level them up, and level them at these points, the story missions for Disgaea 2 are easy enough to just break that you can complete the story in about normal sort of JRPG time. Like you're looking about 40 to 60 hours. But anything outside the story like ramps so just absurdly high that it's, yeah. Demon's Souls is an interesting one because this one you get all of these. So here's the reason why I haven't got any more in Demon's Souls is that here you go, Trophy of Hardness. So best weapon by Hardstone, Sharpstone, Clearstone, Greystone, Bladestone, Spiderstone, Mercury Stone, Dragonstone, Suckerstone, Marrowstone, Moonlight Stone, Dark Moonstone, Faint Stone, Cloudstone. Each one of these is like, okay, max out a weapon
with these things.
with these things, but each of these paths takes about 40 hours, 20 to 40 hours of grinding enemies just to farm up enough stones to do this, and then there's like 13 of these.
Jeez, yeah, I remember having one like weapon that was one of the weird stones, and it was the one that you just find, like the crushing battle axe. Jeez. I will have less achievements than you in Demon's Souls, and I've beaten it a couple of times. That's kind of depressing. I've achieved less than you.
All right, where are we at? West Auditorium. So
Okay.
yes, I've played a lot of God of War.
Okay. Nice.
That was a long way around that thing.
That was a long 40-minute analysis of the thing. God.
All right,
So-
where was it?
He's not the God of War anymore in 2, is he? He wasn't in 1 for very much either. The actual being a God of War happened off screen.
The only game where
God of War. Is that why they put the fish in?
the fish costume is called the Cod of War.
Is that actually fuck that?
Yeah.
Jaffe.
Oh,
David Jaffe.
also okay.
Genius.
All of my cheats are turned on. So what happens? So at the end of God of War 1, you kill Ares and become the God of War, and
and then you're de-godded in the beginning of
like 20 minutes into God of War. Why is this? Come on. Open. Why is this gate taking so absurdly long to open? I think I'm just under clicking because I've been playing some of the other games and
Tony Jaffe didn't work on this game. Oh, I thought he worked on. I think he worked on the first one or something. I don't remember. That guy's weird. He's cool and bad. David Jaffe.
I need to remind myself of this puzzle. But so yeah, you get de-godded like 20 minutes into this game. So the only game that you actually play as the God of War for the entire duration is Ghost of Sparta. And
Is Ghost of Sparta set after one? I thought that was a prequel.
it's between 1 and 2.
Right.
So basically, he's sitting around as the God of War, being all mopey because it's not all it's cracked up to be, and it turns out there's actual like work. So he's basically he yeah, he's kind of Trumpish in that regard. Like he wanted to just like break stuff, and then he gets the job, and it turns out there's like paperwork, and he's just like, I'm gonna go find out what happened to my dead brother.
Why would you call a midquel Ghost of Sparta and not have it be set before he's the God of War when he's being the Ghost of Sparta?
When he's the Ghost of Sparta. Oh, because okay, so Ghost of Sparta is actually pretty good.
All right.
What it is, and there's a funny thing that I need to mention after this, but so it turns out that Kratos had a twin brother who had, so Kratos' tattoo is actually like the birthmark that his brother had. He gave himself the tattoo as like an homage to his brother. So his brother had this birthmark, and the gods were like, hey, there's this prophecy that this like marked kid is gonna murder us all, and so they like send him away.
And then Kratos is born. His parents
and then
are like,
Kronos,
we gotta put
so
him in a
Kronos
fish
is like, hey, I miss my brother, and I kind of like, why did you send him away? I'm gonna give myself a tattoo that just like his birthmark is like in memory or whatever. And
And then his brother turns up and he realizes he got the tattoo wrong. Like he forgot.
no,
The shape
so
of
then
it.
so he runs around, he finds his brother, they like run around and have a little bro adventure, and then brother gets like ripped in half, and and Kratos is really sad about that. But then he goes back to being what did Oh, I remember. Okay. Oh, right. I need to. Okay. I open the gate.
I've forgotten so much
There
of
we
this
go.
game. I replayed
So
one
yeah.
recently.
I need to open the gate. I need to jump through the time portal, and then I need to run and grab that guy before he can kill himself. I feel like I'm just doing this like ever so slightly wrong. But so now here's the funny thing, is if you played through God of War 3 back when it first came out, you were probably going through a whole bunch of the little plot points and being like, what the hell are they talking about? I think I need to just be, do I need to be faster? Do I need to like roll as I come through the portal? There'd be a whole bunch of plot points that just don't make any sense because they keep mentioning like, oh, you should have picked the other one. Oh, Zeus chose the wrong son, and all of this, and it's kind of weird. Like they're clearly referencing something that happened, and you're like, I've played all these games. I don't know what you're talking about, because Ghost of Sparta didn't actually come out until 6 months after God of War 3.
Jesus.
So there's a whole bunch of plot points in God of War 3 that are that they had written for the game that was coming out that fall that was going to fill in the gaps. It was, what am I doing wrong about this?
I wish I knew, but I've long since forgotten this part of God of War 2. I think I might have watched a cousin play through all of this when it came out because I have this distant memory, but I know I haven't played 2. I
Okay,
watched
I
my
got the
cousins play
locked
all of
door.
Final Fantasy 8 as well, and that was a disgusting experience.
Final Fantasy, so many hours of just linking, just drawing magic over and
Jeez.
over again.
God.
Because it seems it's like whenever I go through the portal, the time thing stops.
Apparently, you can move the statue.
Oh,
Oh, Xenodream
am I just
says
not paying attention? And there's handles on the statue. Are there handles on the statue?
that might be. I'm not sure.
Oh,
I don't know.
yes, there are handles on the statue. Also,
I do enjoy games where the mythos requires you to have played everything simultaneously to really get what's going on, including games that aren't out yet. Like there was something. I'm a noted defender of the Matrix sequels, and one thing that even I can't defend is the fact that you have to play Enter the Matrix to see some parts of that movie. But which is weird because like the Matrix as an expanded universe is interesting because like the Animatrix is one of the best films ever made.
yeah.
But then they're like, okay, but now to see this piece of this film, you have to play this. It's like, no, just don't bother. And then the Matrix Online was a disaster, so who knows what bits of the plot are even in that. Jeez, someone brought this up, and
Yeah,
someone
that's
asked.
it.
This is still less complicated than trying to put together the Drakengard universe, and now I will. Now is the time to announce that I'm going to do a video about the Drakengard universe because I kind of want to.
I was
play through all
expecting
the
that
games
to
again.
use the circle button, not the R1.
Oh, jeez. Oh, you got him. Wait, did you just push?
Yeah,
him off?
I got him this time. So they change the contextual commands like every game. Like, and it's always the minor ones.
There we go.
I want this guy to read the book, don't I? Or do I force him to open the door? Unfortunately, this one doesn't have subtitles, so
He's gonna try and kill himself again. Watch out.
there we go. Okay, you just need to be standing in the like exact right spot so that R1 makes him read you a bedtime story instead of R1 putting him down. Yeah, so like I fired Ghost to there's a it was expecting input from me.
He just like held him there for a long time.
So like
Jeez.
Ghost of Sparta inexplicably changes like the button that you use to like jump off a ladder or to let go of a rope, or like it'll always be the little things like that. Like the combat commands will almost always be the same, but then they'll move like secondary ones. So like the grapple button will move around. They're fans of changing that one a lot. They're fans of changing like how you go about like climbing things. And they're just kind of like the weird thing about it is that they're like meaningless changes. Because it almost always is just like, oh, we moved this from this button to this other basically equally difficult to reach button, or whatever. Like it's never a clear and definitive valuable change. Like they have made a couple of those. So like in this one, you'll notice all the QTE prompts are just like kind of in the upper middle of the screen.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But then for 3 Ghost of Sparta and Ascension, they actually moved them off to like the side that it's on. So like they mirrored the prompt thing. So if it's triangle, it's up at the top of the screen. If it's circle, it's over on the right hand side of the screen. So you can actually just kind of when you're going through the QuickTime events, you can just kind of focus on the middle of the screen and then react spatially instead of needing to register shape. And so that's a good change, but that's not a change to the buttons you hit. That's a change to how the information is presented. Changing let go of rope from R1 to L1 doesn't really do anything. Like, why? All
I
you're
think
doing is...
I think a lot of the tertiary controls in these kinds of games are the sort of thing where they probably, when they remake the engine, they probably just forgot because it probably takes a couple of years to make each game. So like, it's probably one of these buttons.
See, and that's the weird thing, is that like Ghost of Sparta, like they wrote all of this plot into God of War 3 because they knew Ghost of Sparta was coming out that fall. They were in development at the same time.
Yeah,
And
but
yet
they're
Ghost
probably
of Sparta
different
like has
studios.
meaninglessly different commands from God of War 3.
The other explanation could be Ghostbusters was PS, was it Vita at that point?
It was PSP.
PSP. Jeez, I forgot how old that thing was. Like that might be why, and they've changed it in releasing this edition. I would certainly hope there's some kind of explanation, but
See, but the weird thing is that Chains of Olympus uses basically the same commands as God of War 2, minus a couple things like grabbing certain things is... Why is this not letting me get it? Oh, I need to do... You know what? Can I get my... No,
watching the
I
fish
can't
man
get
sprout
that in
wings
here.
is actually terrifying. I had a nightmare about this.
I just need to be faster at this. Okay, so yeah, this is timed. I didn't realize that upper switch was also a timed switch. So, because that opens, I need to get up here. I need to pull this switch so that it increases the intensity of the blast. Then I
This
need
reminds
to
me
grab...
of replaying the first Prince of Persia: Sands of Time game years after it came out, where a good deal of the rewinds I spent going, "Oh, that's how this game works," because you died again because the controls have some kind of weird quirk that we've grown out of in the last decade.
Yeah. So here's an example. So chest opening in this game is R1, and in the other games it is alternately either R1, L1, or circle. It just kind of moves around from game to game, but it's the exact same outcome no matter what they go with, because it's still stand in front of a chest and hold one button for 3 seconds.
Have you considered that they changed it just to mix things up a bit, just to be like, someone here's going to obsess over this. If we change it, they'll wonder. It'll keep them guessing.
Maybe.
That's the real mystery of God of War. Why did Kratos get his tattoo?
We don't want people... We gotta make... we got to make these games challenging for longtime players. If they just use all the same inputs, if Kratos behaves the same in all of them, not only is it not going to be fresh, it's also going to be like less difficult.
Yeah, you know,
Also,
in Ghost of Sparta 2, Kratos' brother comes back and reveals that it was his plan all along to change the controls between games.
all right, here's a chance to actually get some Cyclops eyes. Oh wait, we're gonna just turn them to stone instead.
After all those Cyclopses you mined, you're now just gonna...
I will. I've got plenty of save. I've been saving in a different slot every time, so I can just reload. I'll do that. I'll farm garbage trophies for personal vindication later.
Jeez.
Validate my ego.
So did you play these when they came out, or is this a recent obsession?
I in between the two. So I didn't. No. So I didn't actually start playing the God of War games until 2009. But so I did still play them on PS2, but they had already been out for a few years. Like it wasn't until like the what was it, like the PS2 greatest hits versions. Okay, no, that's for going that way. Wait, do I just have skull keys? Do I just have the keys I need? Yeah, I got my skull key, so I just need to open this. So that's when I started playing, and then I got God of War 3 and Ghost of Sparta basically like when they were new. Yeah.
People are discussing Yoko Taro as a creator, and I don't feel like I can weigh in because all I know about him is based on interviews I've seen where he seems pretty cool and interesting, but I haven't actually
Wait,
played
Tara, who
his games.
who?
Just people in the chat. Yoko Taro, Drakengard man.
Oh, I haven't. I don't know anything about that at all. I don't know Drakengard at all.
So
I
I've
am
just
pleb.
I got thinking about Final Fantasy 13. Also got me thinking about JonTron, who made a famous video called Final Hallway 13, in which someone funnier than him screams the game's playing itself. John, it's really funny, and he made it like a sequel to that that isn't on his channel. And I just checked, and there's a video channel called JonTron Lost Videos. That is all of the videos that JonTron has deleted for various reasons, either for copyright deleting it or because he realized that he said the word retarded in it, and maybe that's bad. Like maybe he should look like he's good at the stuff. So this is a channel just uploading all of his like older stuff that was funny or that gave him a bad look.
Look at that
Or
asshole
whatever.
skeleton. But yes,
Jesus.
okay.
Oh, sorry, that was actually pretty cool. But like, and what got me into like there's this
Uh-oh.
clear. He clearly recognizes that there are things that make him
Oh,
look bad that it's good to try and prevent. And I think he's completely given up on that now. And I have some theories as to why. But right now, you're going to be killed by a ceiling. So
I'm gonna be killed by a ceiling because I hit my. So
even with cheats,
even with cheats, yeah, there's still a lot of things that can kill you. Like you can still. There's a lot of pits you can fall in. There's a lot of instant death traps and stuff like that. So even full cheats doesn't make you invincible. A lot of times, honestly, a lot of times in these games, one of the biggest challenges is fighting the is fighting the UI, or just the control scheme. I shouldn't say the UI. So I died there basically because I hit my magic spell one time too many, because going down this chain uses a combination of you need to use R1 to first grab it and then spam circle in order to actually move down it. But I accidentally hit L2, which is your cast a spell in this game, and I had to remind myself actually what button casts spells in this game because I was playing Ghost of Sparta earlier today, and in Ghost of Sparta you just cast the spells using the D-pad.
I'm actually genuinely like I didn't expect you to say I'm gonna have to change this because I was playing another God of War game earlier today. Like for me, that these experiences are a year apart at least each time.
And Amy is now like, Amy, no.
Is Amy trying to interrupt God of War?
Amy is trying to interrupt. Okay. No, we're dead because we didn't. You didn't. Because Kratos takes like 5 seconds to open a door every single time. Every single time.
Fuck. I just caught up with it and watched you die as you were leaving the fucking room. God damn it.
The funniest one of those that I wound up with for varying degrees of funny is in God of War 3. There's a challenge where you need to escort Pandora. You need to escort Pandora through this giant maze. And why did those take I'm just gonna die here. We don't have enough time. Apparently, I have no idea why the skeletons weren't dying. I'm gonna stop trying to use Poseidon's Rage, and I'm just gonna hit him with a sword.
As a serious full-time Darkside Phil fanboy, which I definitely am, I've seen a man play God of War 2 worse than you, but not that much worse.
I'm not normally this bad. It's just I'm my hands are kind of tired.
That's true. There's a lot of mashing in this game. I can see that
There's a
happening.
lot of mashing in these games, and I've been playing probably way too much of them.
Yeah. I was
And I
playing God
still
of
need
War
to
Chains of
play.
Olympus earlier today. Jeez. The button prompts being in the wrong place must be a big deal if you are playing them.
That's honestly the thing that's screwing me up the most about just flipping between them is like, okay, something moved, or something kind of does something vaguely similar. So it's like magic, like how you trigger magic changes in all of them. Like, so in this one, you have a spell active and you just hit L2 and it casts immediately. In one of the games, it's you hold R1 and then press the relevant input, like left button inputs, shape input. And in another one, it's L1 plus a input, and in another, it's just L1.
Amy.
I've already forgotten all the different commands it is for each thing. I can see how that could be a problem if you were playing through all of these games. I've already forgotten them all.
There we
Oh
go.
my god.
Also, there's little differences. Like, so the PSP games are a lot more forgiving with like how fast you need to hit buttons or how fast you need to like rotate the sticks or whatever.
Yeah, fair enough.
Whereas the ones that use the full size controller are like, no, you gotta hammer that.
Yeah. God.
So if you switch between them, it's like you're like, okay, you know, a QT will come up and it's like spam circle, and you'll just be like, all right, and so you'll do it at what feels like a comfortable pace, and it'll be like, no, not fast enough.
I don't like how like you mash to just open doors in these games, and yet you hold a thing to open a chest. So I'm constantly mashing.
Oh, but some doors you hold to open. It depends on the door.
God. Some people seem to think I'm an actual, not ironic fan of Darkside Phil, and the simple explanation is at this point I might as well be, but he's like, he's just like an awful individual, but at this point I'm like narratively invested in him as a character. Just like watching his arc, and he's fascinating. Possibly one of my favorite videos on the internet is his review of the
ramen
cup noodles, yeah, where he spends 30 minutes pouring hot water all over his counter.
Yeah,
trying
so
to make noodles.
I saw you link that, and I was just like, I don't know what to think of that. Like, I can't tell. Like, I honestly cannot tell if this is like, oh dang it, what's that one channel that does all the like cooking advice stuff, but it'll
How
be
to
like
basic.
How to basic. So I honestly can't tell if it's like how to basic, where, you know, all this stuff being clearly and unambiguously awful is in fact the joke, or if Darkside Phil just like legit cannot prepare a cup of noodles.
Like, yeah, like until very recently, it was impossible to parody Darkside Phil, but Slow Beef recently managed it, where he managed to just like stream non-stop for 2 hours in character as Darkside Beef, and that was actually kind of fantastic.
Okay, I saw some references to that. I saw some people talking about that, but I wasn't sure. They were just like, "Hey, I can't." Okay, this was in the Something Awful thread.
Yeah, it was just pitch perfect, just the way
they were just like, "I can't believe he stayed in character," and I'm like, "Wait, what are you talking? What?"
Yeah, he just like got mad at people even when they were giving him money, and remaining in character, angry at people giving you money is hard to do. I would imagine, and like. That's something that Darkside Phil actually does. Like, the guy, I do not like him, but his content is fun. Like, for the longest time, I was 100% certain he had to be a joke, and I think that's what makes it magical.
A 30-minute Like if you just described it, that it's like, okay, so it's a character who does like review of just easy to prepare food, like, or just does reviews of just random garbage you find around the house, and the joke is that it goes wrong in just every imaginable way. I'd be like, okay, that's some SCTV stuff. Like that's a funny gag. I can get behind that. That's some you know, absurdist nonsense. I'm down with that. But then it gets a little too real.
I God, I have a bunch of YouTube channels that I just like. I watch, and I'm still not really sure why, but there's just something magical about them. Me and some friends, we were way into for a while this animation channel called Daisy 390, and I think there might be like 200 subscribers or something. But it's this girl who makes animations in maybe MS Paint, and there's just something vibrant about them because it's
Mm-hmm.
someone who started out quite young and they like stopped making videos a couple of years ago because they grew up, but it's someone being really creative with nothing, and it's
Mm-hmm.
really cool. There's another one. There's a guy called Ralph Roberts who's like 80, and I think he used to write books, and all of his videos are now just him messing around with camera equipment he just got for fun and doing weird special effects stuff to himself, and it's like, this is great. I've watched Ralph Roberts make coffee like 100 times. It honestly helps me sleep listening to this old man describe how to make pour over coffee for 8 minutes. I think I linked one of his videos recently where he shoots lasers out of his hands.
Oh yeah, I saw
Yeah.
that one.
He's a wonderful man. I found him in like 2008 looking up videos for how to bind screenplays. Like, jeez. Yeah, and basically Dr. Phil is one of those, but now also he inexplicably made a career out of it at some point. Yeah.
Oh, this might be a problem. I have my audio off, and the moment I stepped into this puzzle, I'm like, wait a second, this puzzle has an audio cue, like you can
Oh.
hear a like click, click, click before the spikes come up, and I have my audio off.
Well, the trick is to be quick then, so that the spikes never come up.
So I
Just go
need
really
to.
fast. Oh my god, JonTron deleted the King's Quest V video? That was one of the good ones he made in 2012. He removed one of his big ones. Jeez.
Or wait, is this a safe spot? All right, now I don't remember the solution to this puzzle off the top of my head. And I gotta kill this guy again. And I probably need to pick up the Boreas of the North Wind, which is a thing that I also then need to get in the next game as well, because they run out of Greek mythology to pillage
You
at certain points.
I you know too much about God of War. I've made an entire shtick out of knowing too much about games, but
Oh wait, no, this is the Hail of Boreas. We get the Breath of Boreas in 3.
yeah, we have all the different ways Boreas has exhaled.
Yeah.
No, that's a different kind of hail.
Well, and the funny thing is like you keep needing to get crap from Poseidon so that you can breathe underwater, but then some games they'll just be like, screw it, you can just breathe underwater. We don't care. It doesn't matter. Actually, honestly, the funniest thing. So going back through Chains of Olympus, when they added achievements, they added probably the funniest achievement that I have ever seen, which is it's called All Beam Walks Complete.
Mm-hmm.
So there weren't any beam walks in this game, but there's a whole bunch of beam walks. Or no, wait, no, there's a whole bunch of beam walks at the beginning of this game.
And then
But then there haven't been any since. And there was a whole bunch in 1, but then there's none in any of the others. So they're
Yeah.
only in 1, 2, and Chains of Olympus, but there is only one beam walk in Chains of Olympus, and it's at the very beginning, and it's not even like a whole beam walk segment.
It's a beam.
It's a single beam that you walk across, and so you walk across this one beam, and it pops up with the achievement all beam walks complete.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, they clearly got it by putting one beam in the whole game. Like, they clearly realized they probably should have scaled that back. But having it then give you an achievement is genius. I love when that happens. God. I mean, the classic achievement is when you die in Dark Souls 2 and the achievement is Welcome to Dark Souls, that sort of thing. But that's really cool.
Or do I break these chains? The chains are shiny, so maybe I break the chains? I'm going to try breaking those chains. Shiny things are usually a sign of something.
I've fallen deep into the hole of wondering who the other
Oh wait,
gods
no,
of
there
the
we go.
different winds
I can't hear the clicking.
break the chains, Dan. They're fucking glowing.
Yeah, you don't break the chains. They just glow to call your attention to them.
Oh, jeez.
So
They're not even
in Chains of Olympus is actually really funny, even if you're playing on like the harder difficulties. And I just wasted a whole bunch of time there, and I'm probably going to get stabbed again. On the harder, even on the harder difficulties, like it's kind of a challenging game until you get to one point where you then get a weapon called the Fist of Zeus that has a moveset that is so ridiculously overpowered that you then just instantly like break the rest of the game. Oh.
I'm trying to get the feed so I can see your stuff better. But
like even on the even on the like highest difficulty settings, it's like once you get the Fist of Zeus, you just kind of jump slam everything to death for the rest of the game. And my chat, why is my chat not? Oh, there we go. For whatever reason, it was like, can't connect to chat.
I somehow doubt you saw the latest season of Sherlock, right?
I didn't, no.
Okay, right.
I don't know if it's actually even available here in Canada yet without
piracy.
Without piracy.
So there's a character who's named after the god of the East Wind, Eurus, or Euros. Yeah. Euros. And I think they keep changing which pronunciation it is. I'm trying to remember if that's the case or if I'm just remembering it wrong. But it really annoyed me. Like, make up which one you're going to use in this. Then again, I guess it's accurate. Different people would pronounce it differently because people
pronounce things differently.
Yeah, makes sense. But it was just really confusing, and for a season already intentionally confusing enough, they could have done better at like getting the character's name correct. It's dumb. It's really dumb. I'm a huge fan of Sherlock Holmes. The future video I'm doing about it spoils so many Sherlock Holmes materials, including some of the board game. So watch out for that. It's a good board game. Oh man. People are talking about Dark Souls 2 in the chat and defending it, and I can detect that they're my brothers in spirit. Oh man, people are asking for opinions on Doctor Who. What do you think?
I don't really have an opinion on Doctor Who. I have in my life seen like 3 Doctor Who episodes.
Why did we even allow the Commonwealth to exist? What is wrong with you? How can you not have an opinion on the one piece of British popular culture that exists?
I don't know.
I'm mad.
You probably should be. I don't know. Like Laura likes Doctor Who, and Laura's family likes Doctor Who, and they've actually like seen substantial amounts of it. I don't really have anything like against Doctor Who at all. Like, I have enjoyed what I've seen, but I don't have any sort of complex opinion.
Well, that's a shame, because my opinion could fill so much time. I really, really like the new.
Oh, that's a pit there. Oh,
God,
we're gonna need to redo that entire puzzle.
this puzzle is the worst thing I've seen in my life.
Oh, this doesn't even qualify as bad by by God of War standards.
Well, hey, watch what you're saying there. God, jeez, no, like
I do remember
the
this one being one of their like less than good puzzles, but no, they've had some awful ones.
I feel like the puzzles in this game are just trying to pad the time because
A
they
lot of them are.
didn't. Yeah, because you could have just had the whole game be lots of fights. That's okay. With fighting's fine.
Well, I think mixing puzzles in there, like it is good for pacing. Like it's like, okay, you've got some puzzles, you've got some traversal elements, and you've got the fights. It's like those are kind of your three pillars of gameplay in the God of War series, and that's that's fine, that's good. It's just if puzzles are a pillar of your gameplay, then the puzzles need to be good, and designing really good puzzles is actually incredibly challenging. And designing crappy time eating puzzles is really easy. So, and you're likely to do number two by mistake when you're trying to do number one. And that's just kind of what happens.
It's like I remember the Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver game being really cool, except apparently the dev team every day they had to bring in new block pushing puzzles, so the game is full of needless block pushing puzzles that completely get in the way of the fun. Here's a cool story where the characters use big words for once, and there we are.
All right, I remember the solution of the puzzle. It's not that hard. It's
Seems to be
just
dying a lot.
it's challenging to execute. Okay, so it's one of the ones that's not like conceptually difficult. It's just harder to actually like do. They're huge fans for whatever reason of giving you, as we saw with the elevator, where it's like, all right, here's your thing, and even if you do it like really well, you have basically no time to actually complete it. Like even doing it really well is still only going to get you like barely out in time. And yeah, so that's really all that's going on here. Is it's not that challenging a puzzle. There's not that many pieces that you need to put together. It's just like you just have no leeway in executing it. Stop blocking my attacks. Who do you think you are? Fine. Eat lightning.
I hesitate to actually call what's happening here a puzzle. Like, it isn't puzzling. It isn't a test of wit.
Well,
Or
it's like,
knowledge.
okay, so here's the parts, here's the pieces that you've got. You've got a lever, you've got a rotating switch, you've got a time slow element, you've got a time slow device, and you've got a locked door down at the end of the hallway. So it's like, I don't know, it's a light puzzle. It's one that's, I mean, like I said, it's a lot more on the execution side than on the actual puzzle side. But it's like you do need to spend some time in the room, like looking at what you've got and figuring out how they fit together.
I don't know. It's not really much of a light puzzle. To me, a light puzzle is one where you use mirrors to reflect light around. It's just a horrible joke.
That was last week.
Ah, great. Someone asks if I like Berserk or JoJo. I like both of those things very much. I'm still reading through the Berserk manga. I have not caught up yet. I watched the original anime.
I don't like
Thought it was
Berserk. It's
great.
actually crap.
Fair enough. I enjoy things about Berserk, and I have to qualify my opinion. I enjoyed it, like it was one of the first animes I watched a lot of, and I quite like some of the things on the fringe, especially the part where, because of the way the original show ends, it just ends with everyone dead and no way out, and they don't fix it. I think that's pretty cool. But it has some pretty clear problems, especially in terms of like the more you look at problematic aspects of content. But at this point, it's weird to talk about Berserk because my experience of its content is all stuff that was written in like the 80s or 90s at this point. And the modern stuff is apparently very different, and I'm not going to catch up to it for so long. It's like when people talk about JoJo, the other thing the person asked about, where you can say, "Oh, I don't like this part," and you can be like, "Yeah, well, that was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, JoJo Part 3 was so long ago that you can not like that and then really like everything that came after because it's so different." I'm watching through it with my girlfriend right now, and I can't wait for us to get to Part 4, where it'll start actually being fun for her to watch.
I keep meaning to start JoJo. Largely, I kind of am satisfied just appreciating JoJo from a distance, appreciating JoJo aesthetically from a distance.
Yeah. JoJo annoys me in a lot of ways because it's so foundational in a lot of shonen tropes. It annoyed me watching through it the first time because I like to, in my spare time, write like weird pieces of fiction just to amuse myself. And it annoyed me how much it accurately did better things that I'd been writing for fun, thinking they were weirdly original. And it's cool seeing it as a precursor. Like, it pioneered the anime genre of everyone here does the fights. There's a strongest main character, but everyone has their own unique, weird little power, and that kind of is disseminated into all anime. Even Dragon Ball, not quite. You just made $1, by the way.
I just made $1. Thanks for the $1.
Nice.
Oh, and I didn't make it to the door.
God damn it.
Because you do, all right. Yeah, you do need to actually stop on that middle platform. Okay, I'm going to stop going for the red chests. There is no reason, like there is absolutely, literally zero reason for me to go to the red chest. Not only do I have everything unlocked, like all of these, everything is at maximum. There is literally nothing I could spend those red orbs on. But also, in addition to that, I am currently capped in how many red orbs I can even hold. I have 1,000,000 red orbs. The number does not go higher. Opening those chests is literally just a waste of time.
I was wondering that and didn't want to ask because I hoped there was an explanation.
There is no explanation. There is purely my own impulse of like, there are chests there. I need to open them.
I don't think I've been angry at a person before like this. God damn it.
That's fair. That's fair.
I remember as a kid, like watching it. Like I'd wake up early in the morning, I'd play some Halo PC edition online, and I'd wait for the latest episode of Bleach to download, and I'd be like, "This is so original! Every character has their own unique power. Their sword does stuff." And then it's like, no, actually, it's just this one show again, and I guess that's all that manga type of thing. Just, hey, this guy's power is that he's X-themed and he can do Y. Heck, Bleach even ripped off the part where the artist secretly just wants to be a fashion designer. Jeez. Don't go for
there
the
we
chests,
go.
please. Okay.
I skipped the chests. I left 2 red chests behind, closed. If I start twitching and
is it over?
There's chests in there. Yeah, we made it through the puzzle. Okay. Oh, I guess I'm not screen sharing. You have to watch the stream, so you're watching everything happen. Like.
Yeah. I've been trying to keep up with you, and it's been quite hard. So I've been trying to predict ahead, and every now and then I hear a sigh from you and go, "Oh, he died again, didn't they?" And I have to watch painfully as you die again.
I don't know if do I have a screen share option in.
Ooh, Hans Lander asks, but nice name by the way. Your videos look good. What camera do you use? And the answer is a lot of different ones because I have a few that I go between based on the situation. The main one I use now is the JVC LS300, which is a Micro Four Thirds mount camera, but the sensor is bigger than the Micro Four Thirds mount is supposed to be. So there's this like weird vignette if you use a lot of big lenses, and it's pretty cool. I'd recommend that camera.
Wait, the sensor's bigger than the mount?
Yes, like the MFT.
I
Sensor
see. I
size
see what's
is like
going on. So
Super
the
16?
sensor, yeah. So a lot of MFT lenses don't have a big enough image circle to actually
Yeah, I
cover
think
it.
it's Super 35. So you can crop it and it's fine, but I think
Yeah,
it's quite funny. So um, most MFT lenses are fine, but there's a couple like with zoom lenses, it just vignettes and it's
yeah.
kind of
The
cool.
wider.
My favorite lens is an old Nikkor 35 that I'm mounting on with a speed booster, and it just vignettes horribly, but it looks nice, so I just keep it on. But
You know
that's
what?
what
I've
I
got
use.
enough health. I'm just gonna tank this puzzle rather than actually solving it.
I've
Assuming
asked
I can.
almost everyone on every major YouTuber what camera, lens, and microphone they use. I've asked Dan repeatedly, actually, over years. People are asking if La
What do
La
I?
Land or Moonlight, which is better, which should have won.
Moonlight.
Yeah,
The answer is like
yeah.
I didn't like La La Land. I didn't hate La La Land. I largely my reaction to it has been distinctly tempered by reaction.
Hmm.
That it's like, oh, there's all these people, that it's got this essentially cult following, and that makes me into a grumpy old man.
I'm. I haven't seen either yet. I want to see Moonlight. I do not want to ever see La La Land. It just doesn't look. It doesn't look like a thing I would do. How how does this chamber keep spitting fire like that? Is that volcano? Is that how convection
There's
works?
a phoenix. That's the phoenix at the end of the hall.
Oh, right. It's breathing an exact, precise amount of fire constantly.
Constantly, yeah, yeah.
Who built
It has
this?
it has a sense of fairness.
Yeah, it could just be. You could just constantly shoot fire and prevent people from getting through, like
Yeah,
some kind of security system.
I mean, because at the end of the day, it is a video game.
Instead, it's like, periodically we'll stop. Let's see, you can push this puzzle thing through. This is an actual puzzle. You have to push the thing along the stuff. Well, actually, no, it's barely even that. It's just like time, but
Um, that actually brings. So, I I was rewatching Spoonie's Ultima retrospective just because I a couple days ago I realized that Ultima Online is going to be 20 years old at the end of this year.
wow,
Yeah.
God, yeah,
So I was like, man, you know what? Spoonie Noah did a. I remember he did a really really thorough look at the Ultima series, and so I went back and watched those
yeah.
just to kind of refresh myself. And one of the things I'm kind of thinking about doing is, or that I think would be an interesting subject to look at, would be Ultima 9, like which is a awful game,
Yeah.
but looking at it. Specifically as kind of this messed up compromise between like new player friendliness and just what's the word I'm looking for, fidelity to the setting.
Yeah.
You know, that there's all of these things that they did, like that it's like, okay, the avatar, can ask all of these stupid questions like what's a paladin, being
Mm,
the classic one,
yeah.
and that the main character seems to know absolutely nothing about Britannia despite being their messiah figure.
Yeah, I remember
And
like I played a little bit of 9 and a couple of the earlier Ultimas, and I remember in a museum the Skull of Mundane being there, and I know for a fact that to progress the story you have to destroy that. Because
yeah,
if you it destroys the world.
so I'd be interested in looking at it through sort of that lens. Like, okay, what of these things are like, and specifically, I think approaching it as a like, okay, a legitimate kind of like workshop style criticism of like, hey, how do you rebuild some of these things so that you're communicating the information to new players without it being framed in a way that's going to make the main character look like an idiot.
Yeah, like the thing to keep in mind about Ultima 9 is that for a like full 3D massive adventure game released in 1999, it's a surprisingly huge achievement. Like even by the standards of Morrowind, which I think was quite a little bit later, um, it's like it's terrible in retrospect and lore wise, yeah, and game wise it's bad. But
I think even I mean I was playing.
it's
Maybe it
gigantic.
was because I was playing the Elder Scrolls games. Like Morrowind was a little bit after, but like Daggerfall was a few years earlier.
Like, it occupies the same space in my head as is it King's Quest 9? Which King's Quest one is the one that was Mask of Eternity? That's it. Which is also like a weird 3D thing that completely destroys the original series and what it was going for. Like, I kind of have had a similar idea for games like situated in a place where everyone forgot about them or just hated them. Like another thing is like, Space Ace and uh, Dragon Quest.
Dragon Slayer. Dragon Slayer. Yeah.
Like there is a third game in that series.
Wait, there is?
Yeah, it's called Taya's Quest, and it was released.
About that.
It was released on an incredibly obscure Laserdisc-based game console that only a couple of them ever existed, and when it was released, it cost like $2,500 US.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, so and it completely tanked the career of Rick Dyer. And everyone's forgotten about it. And we live in an era where new games to talk about is a hot fucking commodity. Like, JonTron is out of games to talk about. That's why he just does movies now. So, like, I want to do a thing about it before everyone remembers that thing exists, because I apparently have one of the
how are you
few
going to get
existing-
your hands on it?
Well, here's the thing. It was released on DVD a couple of years back. But what makes it even more interesting is it was unfinished because they kind of rushed out the door because they knew the console was probably going to be a failure. So they released a fucking to be continued, and the to be continued, like the part 2 kind of technically never got made because the whole thing collapsed. But then way later, it got released in other areas, and then they changed the names of all the characters and of the game, and then the sequel is a sequel to the different version. So if you actually play the sequel immediately after Taya's Quest, it's got a different name, and the character's name is different, and all the animation's different, and it's just this incredibly weird adventure in attempting to make a big like Dragon's Lair looking type thing, but like an actual huge adventure. And I'd love to do an analysis of that before anyone else finds out it exists. And there's another game that I've already forgotten about what it was. And I'm glad because I can't ruin it by telling other people about it.
There we go.
I do love that we live in an age of like,
asked,
I know the secret of, I know this game I can talk about. I remember that. I was like, I discovered Food Fight before it became a huge thing for everyone to talk about, and I was so annoyed when it became popular.
Someone asked me about Hamilton. How I feel about elites being into Hamilton. I feel like that's a actually fairly predictable outcome. Lindsay, who did? Yeah, no, it was Lindsay. Lindsay did, as part of her Rent episode, she talks about the ecosystem that Broadway plays exist in, and I basically agree with her assessment of the situation, like 100%. So she actually sat down and wrote out a longer, coherent explanation of the situation. I don't think it's like intrinsically a like, oh, it's a bad thing. Like Hamilton is thus invalid as art because its subversion has been packaged in a way that is palatable to the people with the money to actually go see Broadway musicals. But you know that at the same time is still a dimension of wait now oh there we go, the grabber hand, yeah, the grabber hand comes and gets it and then dips it in there, but that is still like, you know, that's a dimension of Hamilton that can't be ignored either.
Yeah, I think like there's always going to be a level of subversion that's tolerable by elites because they enjoy the feeling that, you know, that they can accept being criticized. So if you watch a big tentpole play about how racism is bad, and that makes you feel like you're a good person because you clearly also think that. Um,
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing. That's what made the Hamilton people actually commenting on Mike Pence turning up such a horrible thing for people who support Mike Pence was Hamilton people actually acknowledged that turning up to see the play was not the biggest deal. And in fact, they still have a couple of things maybe he should consider doing, like making the country not be on fire anymore.
Yeah.
They're like, no, but he turned up to see the
you get
play.
all
Isn't
he's
that
like, no, he
progressive
should.
enough?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not. It's like this isn't a frickin' Hamilton is not the final question in the purity test. Like, there's there's a bit more to being a good person, and it would start with not passing laws to electrocute gay kids.
Yeah, I would start there.
That
I think they
would
should
be a
have
good
just read that
starting
out.
place. Like, I would say that there's pretty much 100% rate in actual good people not passing laws to electrocute gay kids.
Yeah. At the end of the play, Hamilton turns to the audience and says, "Racism was bad, and please stop electrocuting gay kids." And the audience applauds. Just kidding. They're in uproar. You wouldn't want to get too political with your
Too
plays.
political at
Yeah.
Hamilton, you know, which is already basically a alternative retelling, a like recapturing of one dude's life.
I
I
still
really
get
liked.
out.
I read a really good article about the idea of Hamilton as fan fiction. Like that Hamilton, you know, that Lin-Manuel Miranda is essentially aware of the fact that Hamilton's Hamilton is not an authentic simulacra of Hamilton the historical figure. You know, that it is essentially, or that it is in a lot of ways a not even necessarily idealized, but almost like hijacked version of the character, and the purely for the use of the scenario.
Yeah, yeah. I just realized that there's like we're the two people least qualified to talk about Hamilton. Dutchman.
Oh, this just no. I don't need. What do I need? I need to get up so I can blow the horn. Oh wait, no. Right, I ram.
Narrator Way is watching you open the chests and commenting on how you have an addiction. At one point, you opened a chest and he just wrote, "Dan."
No, they are. That is accurate. It is like, okay. So I'm going to open this chest, and part of it is just pure, you know, instinct, but part of it is that look how satisfying that is. Like the sound of it, you have the animation, the little struggle, and then it makes this really satisfying popping noise, and then all of these orbs come out and just swarm into you. Like,
just
as feedback, as like video game feedback, it is amazingly well done, and there is a rush of dopamine every single time.
Yeah. No, I get that. I get that from, old like RTSs when you would blow something up, even if you didn't need to, like a wall
Yeah.
or a thing that was no longer necessary. Just watching an explosion ejaculate from the orifice
Yeah.
of your enemies. Hold on, let me
I
like.
gotta, I'm gonna be back in a second.
God, that's like, yeah, I'm not the biggest MOBA fan, but I do like in HOTS that there are these like pointless walls that you can go
Yeah,
back and
that
destroy
was
if you
actually
want
what
to.
I was about to say. Like when I'm
Yeah,
playing hot in like bot matches just to get like first win of the day, it's like, oh hey, here's a wall, and I'll just stand there and like, punch it down as Lulu.
the best bit is there are people who legit point out that that's a tactically good idea because people can see with walls. So if you stand next to them, people can like see you or something.
Oh, you do get vision off walls?
I think someone
I
told me
mean,
that.
it's always kind of a tactically good decision just because it gives you more room to move. Like it's rarely it's never a bad idea unless you're busy knocking down a wall instead of like helping the team.
Hmm.
Like I don't think I could come up with any situation where it's like, no, you need to leave the team's walls up. Um,
I like your chat. Your chat's significantly more chill than mine.
my chat's pretty chill. All
Yeah,
right.
my stream chat's awful. People asking if I've played the new Zelda. Haven't yet. I almost bought a Switch. I went into Game and they had one Switch, but it was a cancelled bundle that was full of stuff I did not want or need, and I didn't feel like spending that money. So I'm gonna have to do. But I want to do a video about the Switch because I have an idea for how to talk about Nintendo's creative decisions as far as designing their consoles goes. Spoiler: Nintendo have never made a good business decision in their entire lives.
They have made a lot of lucky business decisions.
And there's a lot of unlucky ones, but the Switch is incredibly solid business-wise in a way I think is like they actually figured this shit out. Now that their company is on the brink of collapse if they fail to make a good console. So that's it.
I mean, I think, yeah, even I think the things that that people would consider to be their good business decisions are ones that are essentially like lucky business decisions, or were good because they had already gotten kind of lucky with something.
Yeah, like the Wii was an accident in a way. The
The
Wii
Wii
U
was an
was
accident.
the Wii U's like did badly, but I think it's actually a really interesting concept for a console, and the games that make use of it made really good use of it. Like Mario Maker is one of the best games ever made, which I think goes a little bit missed by the gaming community online because we've had that kind of editing for a long time, in terms of like making Mario ROM hacks and stuff. But like, it's fantastic, and yet, like every other decision they've made was bad. The Game Boy was almost an incredibly bad console, and then I think was it Gunpei Yokoi won a bet that let him make the console better.
Uh, the Game Boy Advance was awful, but the SP was amazing. But
Yeah.
so that's basically like, hey, the GBA didn't like tank them, and they were able to actually fix it.
Yeah.
The DS wound up being an amazing decision, but it was also a fluke.
Mm.
Like
yeah.
that's actually what like the people often forget this, but so the Nintendo DS is one of it's like in the top 3 best-selling consoles in like history.
Yeah. But like the number one advantage of the Switch is now that Nintendo have leveraged their home console into their main console, the subhuman cockroaches that play Monster Hunter can finally play a version with graphics. Which is one of the many flaws that presumably they will eventually fix. It's the fact that it's like a
The
PSP
Monster
game.
Hunter will finally look good.
Like they will have visuals in it. God.
Oh, so satisfying. Just look at it.
The explosion. It's good. It's real good. I do like things where they all come out of someone and then fly into you. You just automatically get it all.
Yeah, it it's got a lot of mixed metaphors that should fill you with strange and unusual feelings.
I'm having flashbacks to the incredibly joyous yet empty time I spent playing the Lego Star Wars games, where you blow something up and you'd collect all the bits, and they'd make like that slight, like very very slight light clicking sound as you pick them up, and they'd make it thousands of times. Oh, it's so good. God of War. It's, jeez.
I'm trying to remember if this is one of the puzzles where I like prop this open. Nope. Basically, I've got this platform and I need to put this platform somewhere. Oh, wait, no. Okay, so I think I just take this and I just leave it there, and then it, like, hits the ceiling, if I recall. Nope. Maybe. Or do I use it to climb back up onto something? No, this just takes me back up.
I think the funniest cutscene in this era of video games was in the first Prince of Persia, which I'm flashing back to for some reason. I think it's because I played it recently again. But when you pull the lever that activates the castle's defense system, and the camera slowly pans through them, like starting up, and none of the enemies being disturbed by them whatsoever. And it's just, like, I don't know if it was meant to be anticlimactic. It was just meant to be, oh, here's this dramatic thing of you going to the temple and all the traps are turning on. But none of the enemies were harmed by them. So it's just this, like, depressing moment of, oh, I've just completely fucked myself. And it's wonderful. God.
Why do I feel like I'm supposed to jam this elevator? I think I'm just remembering the solution to a different God of War game's puzzle.
Oh god, mine.
Because now it's, yeah, see, it just slips right off. So it's clearly not meant to
they are
trap that.
I'm looking at Nintendo Switches on eBay to see how much they cost. Oh,
How much do they cost?
This one, Click and Collected Argos, one left, is £385, which is a lot more than the Switch would cost normally, but still significantly less than the bundle I almost bought. Okay, scalpers have them at like £500 minimum as well. This is unacceptable. This guy's selling 2 Nintendo Switches. Just, the picture shows 2 of them for some reason.
Side by side? Or stacked on top of
just
each other?
2 stacked on top of each other, and then on top of that stack are 2 copies of Breath of the Wild. It's wasteful. Stop.
I don't know. Breath of the Wild actually looks pretty decent.
I can't wait. I'm super into it. I'm a big Zelda fan. Legend of Zelda. It's my game growing up. You jump into the lava and it freeze frames and you hear Link scream and it fades to black and you have nightmares for the rest of your life.
I don't think I crush these chains or break these chains. I can't see. The camera's not showing me that well. Why don't I remember? It is kind of embarrassing when you're like, oh yeah, I've got all of these achievements, but I haven't played this one in a couple years, so.
Okay, I'm glad that there's at least an explanation. I thought maybe you played it in the last couple of days like most of the others. And
no, this one I legit haven't played in probably 3 years.
fair enough. That's, God. I keep just saying God under my breath and realizing I think it's because I'm meant to be saying of war. I'm interested
Someone
in the
said
one.
jam it in the middle. But no, if you put it between the two, unless I just had it on. Okay, everybody saw that I literally tried that exact solution like multiple times.
I can't wait for this to catch up.
I just had
Oh,
it
it's gonna do the
in.
thing. Oh
So
god.
I had the right
Yeah.
solution. I just had it on like the wrong pixels, I
I
guess.
definitely saw you try that. I remember that because we've been here for like 10 minutes, so I would remember. That is kind of cool though that you do it by jamming the elevator and then putting the platform. That's actually really clever, and it creates the sense of jamming a system, which is supposed to be the fucking theme of God of War,
Oh
right?
boy, I wish. I really
Right?
wish. It
You,
tries at
yeah.
times. It's pretty good when it's actually like sort of headed in that direction, but
Mhm.
then then it decides it's actually about like revenge or something.
I can't get over how much I enjoy like Disney villains and idolize them a lot, just in terms of here is this oppressive social order, like a literal monarchy or the rule of gods, and then
Hmm.
along comes this guy or girl who's like, I'm gonna disrupt the entire natural order forever, and fuck you. And I think that's really cool. And I know that like they're the bad guys, whatever, but Scar is accurately angry at the reality of Disney, and that's good.
I
It's
mean,
good
sort
to me.
of.
Yeah.
Like, but the thing is that while Scar is accurately angry at, oh wait,
Like diegetically, his solution it sucks, but I wouldn't.
he's also an asshole. Like, I don't know. Scar is basically like, hey, I really don't like. His problem isn't with the system. His problem is that he's not king.
Like,
He has no
I feel
problem
like
with the system. He just has problem with the current arrangement of who has power and that person not being him.
yeah.
He's a libertarian douchebag, neo monarchist.
I think what makes the characters compelling is that the twist in almost any given Disney film with that kind of villain could conceivably turn out to be that they know they're in a movie and they're trying to destroy it to escape. And I enjoy that aspect of it. Like, there is a level of flamboyant evil that I can empathize with more than I can empathize with the good guy who's the king and who
Hmm.
knows the proper way of things and whatever.
I'm trying to remember. I think did I just
Are you killing a
who
bad
did I
Kratos
just
clone or?
no,
Oh no, he just
I
looks a bit
feel
like
like
him
I
in his
just
head.
killed
Yeah.
someone that I didn't actually necessarily want to kill, but every time I get to this point in the game, I'm just like, wait, who's this guy again?
Yeah,
And
like
I
he
don't have
looked a little bit
subtitles,
like
so I don't
Kratos in that
remember what
fight.
he's actually saying. I think that's like the captain dude from back at the beginning, uh, when we were like smashing uh,
The the
roads.
yeah yeah when you were the big guy.
Yeah, he's a
Yeah,
Spartan. He's a Spartan captain. Oh right, yeah. He's passing on the story. He's letting Kratos know that like, oh yeah, you're not the god of war right now, and that's kind of a problem. And all the rest of the gods are taking out their revenge on Sparta
yeah,
because they're jelly.
mm. Yeah. That happens.
I mean,
This happened in Spartan Total Warrior as well when they're like,
yeah.
"Hey, we've decided to just destroy Sparta because we could."
It's also like really really funny that this is what gets Kratos' hide like totally chapped. Is it just like Zeus is taking revenge on Sparta? It's like he can't do that. And it's like, dude, you literally started this game by being like, I'm gonna go personally smash roads just
Yeah,
because I want to, and I am bored.
Total
That's
Warrior
how
is an
we got
underrated
here.
game, by the way. It's good. And it also has the same God of War twist at the end, where like it turns out you're related to God royalty. Also, you kill the God of War at the end. But it's good.
Oh, another. Okay, so here's another funny thing with the writing in the God of War series as a whole. So remember how Ghost of Sparta actually came out 6 months after God of War 3?
Yeah.
So God of War 3 spends a lot of time talking about the fact that that Zeus is actually Kratos' dad, which is a plot twist in Ghost of Sparta.
But
So
they just don't. They just never told you that.
so if you're playing God of War 3, it's just out in the open that it's like, oh, Zeus is Kratos' dad, and like that's all part of this whole revenge plot thing and whatnot. And you actually have a fight with Hercules because you
Yeah.
know brothers or whatever. But then as you're playing through Ghost of Sparta, which came out after God of War 3,
They then explain the twist.
they then no, like so there's a whole moment at the beginning of Ghost of Sparta where you run into like your mom's ghost, and she's like, your father made me send your brother away, and Kratos is like, my father, who is my father? And she's like, your father is, lean in closer, your father whispers in his ear, and then she like turns into a giant monster and you have to kill her. And so it's like they legit plant it as this like twist, this reveal that's going to come later in the game. And when it comes later in the game, it's presented as this big reveal in a game that came out 6 months after the other game that just straight up already deals with this plot point. Like
Is
it's
Ghost of Sparta set between 1 and 2, right?
yeah,
So he knew this in God of War 2 as well. It just never
in
came
theory,
up.
yeah, and it just
Okay.
doesn't come up. But then it's a given in God of War 3, and
So at any point, I just want to
so
stress
if you
this.
so
At
if you
any point
played
in
these
God of War
as they
2, at the
came
beginning,
out,
when Zeus was murdering him, he could have said, "Please do not kill me, comma, Dad," and
comma
didn't.
dad, yeah,
Yeah, like
because this was a plot twist that was written. Uh,
best.
the story writer. So these games have actually all had the same story writer, and I cannot remember the name off the top of my head. It's like Czech or Ukrainian. I'm gonna look it up real quick while y'all watch this cutscene where he's like, "Oh no, my wife who I killed because I'm an asshole. It's not my fault. I was tricked."
Whenever I drink Lucozade, it has some kind of energy substance in it that does bad things to me, where it makes me like jittery and hungry in a way I'm not normally made by like coffee, which I can drink infinite amounts of. So I also, when I got that, bought just like an entire thing of honey nut Cheerios, which I'm probably at some point going to break into. Jesus Christ.
Marianne, I I'm sorry, I cannot pronounce this last name. Krozik? I think Krozik. Also, I want my. There we go. I want my big sword. There we go. Yeah. So like it's like, what's going on here? Like you could look at it diegetically, in which case it just doesn't make any. It really just kind of doesn't make any sense. And the only actual answer is that the writers only finally got around to like writing this in, you know, 2011. I don't remember why I need the body. Oh, I need the body to weigh down this switch over here. Right, I needed to I hit the tentacles to move this. And then I use my buddy's body to weigh it down so that I can jump up, so that I can wing over, so that I can hit the sucker in the face.
Something that I didn't pick up on at the time, but really like in retrospect, was when you were fighting that guy just shrouded in shadow. I did like that you could still make out he was wearing a fish costume.
That's actually like I actually really like that moment in this game. I think that's one of the
Yeah, it's clever.
these games are good for the most
Yeah.
part. Like they're also incredibly stupid, but they are for the most part decent games.
It's really clever visual design. I remember reading something about David Jaffe's ideas for the original God of War 3, and it ends with killing all known types of pantheon and the foundation of a new religion. It sounds really cool, and I kind of hope
The
that happens in the new God of War, despite that definitely not being the case.
Yeah. Um, God of War. I'm still kind of chapped about God of War 3 in some ways. Like having just replayed it recently, it's it still has like it had a lot of potential, but the biggest problem with it is that it's all muddled and mixed in terms of what it's actually trying to convey. Is the body still? Oh, the body is still here. Okay, I just need to redo what
Why
I'd
does
already
it
done.
need to turn out that his dad was Zeus? Why was that valuable?
I don't know.
Why can't he just be a guy? God damn it.
Because it's like Greek thing where everybody special is someone that Zeus stooped their mom. That's just how Greek goes.
Yeah, Zeus fucked everyone. I guess that that,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah, that's kind of, I guess, really appropriate now that I think about it. For more than 5 seconds, yeah.
Like yeah, I think that part doesn't actually bug me. Like my biggest problem with 3 is it really is just the mixed theming.
Like
That
three.
it can't decide if it's about revenge, if it's about tearing down a system, if it's about Kratos's like
Personal journey and redemption through
personal
a child.
journey and redemption, because it's definitely not about his redemption.
Oh
Also,
yeah.
the direction that it wanted me to face there was like really
What the
not
Yeah.
working. It's like what direction do I need to push on my stick here to actually go forward? And it's
I
like,
think
yeah, none of them.
I think a
None of
problem
them
God of War
work.
3 had was that it was ultimately a very long and protracted uh, version of the ending that you already got into, where he rides onto Olympus with all the gods and final fight. And essentially, it's a very, very big final fight with a lot of delays. And that kind of meant they couldn't
That they
put.
needed to
Yeah, they had to add story into what was ultimately the climactic fight of a story
the
that already
previous
happened.
game. Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
And so you end up with all the stuff with Pandora, and it's like, oh, Kratos working through his like failure issues with his daughter, and it's like, but not really, because that's actually something that's already been dealt with in like multiple other smaller entries in the series.
mm.
Like all of the both of the PSP games are about uh, Kratos dealing with his various personal issues, and the
Yeah,
main games do not care about the personal issues. So when 3 suddenly decides it's like, oh yeah, we're about Kratos' personal issues.
I kind of think that part of the deal of God of War is that the issue, like Kratos is injured in such a way that he can't get over it. Like he metaphorically destroys himself thing at the end of God of War 1, but it doesn't fix it. And in 2, he's like still so mad that the gods are like, we have to fire this guy. He is completely crazy and angry, unstoppably, and then he's still angry even more. And I feel like it would be wrong for him to actually be allowed to get over it. And
Yeah,
but then again, I'm super psyched for 4, where it's all about him like just being trying to be this guy, this dude. And maybe, I don't know, maybe it's a catastrophic failure. Maybe the kid dies 30 minutes in. Maybe it's a good game that I can't guess the twist of. I don't know. That'd be nice. A God of War game whose twist isn't guessable. Like, I wanted to just throw out that Zeus was Kratos' dad because it seemed like an obvious twist, and I was actually a little bit disappointed when you explained in the stream right now that was actually the thing that it was. It's a shame.
or do they mention it in this game? I don't remember. I don't
I think
remember so there's a whole bunch of conversations at the end. So basically, where we're headed now is we're gonna go beat up the Fates, and we're going to like reset Kratos' destiny, and I was not prepared for that input. That it's gonna be the nipple twist.
someone asked me what I think about BioShock,
That was a
and
bad time to scratch my nose.
I heard the scratch and saw the blast. Okay, BioShock
All
One.
right,
I think
button pushes.
it's coolest. Can I talk, or will it destroy your attempts to do
You
button
can,
pushing?
yeah.
Okay. Bioshock 1 is cool. I like that it puts you into the mindset of a weird libertarian in a way that is insidious and you don't notice, where you're in your head going, yeah, you could just not kill them, but it's okay because I still get just as good rewards for not killing them. Like, there are people out there who are actually debating the value of letting the kids live because of the mechanical bonuses that you get for doing it, as opposed to the idea that you probably should just not kill the virtual children.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of interesting in a way that has a crunch to it I did not expect. Is I think the creators of Bioshock didn't see that message coming because they forgot that video game players do not perceive virtual children as people, which I wouldn't say is an inherently immoral thing, but is telling in its own way. And also because there's no like you can be violently anti-racist in Bioshock Infinite, and a lot of players will do that because within the context of a simulated world, it's acceptable to do those things. But in real life, they probably would never react in such a way against an oppressive system.
Mm-hmm.
There's the other big
If,
problem, of
in
course,
fact,
it
in
with
a lot of ways, many of them would, in fact, be less like, yo, like, maybe we just, you should talk it out, you know? If we punch the Nazis, doesn't that basically make us Nazis?
there's also something like kind of disturbingly methodical about the violence in especially Bioshock Infinite. There's a very fantastic point in Tim Rogers' review where he says, "And then you shoot cops for 10 hours." And I think a game that attempts to talk about big social problems, that there's value in the point that it makes, and like, a lot of games make that point. Drakengard does with, oh, the violence is this really straightforward thing that it gets easy so quickly. But I would prefer a game that actually bothered to add a weight to, to the lives of these people. I really liked Metro 2033, especially just the amount of people you can let live if you want to. But it's a struggle, and the game rewards you with there are just moments of these two Russian guys are going to talk about some stuff for a while if you just sit and let them, and you gain like karma points for permitting them to live long enough that you just listen to what they have to say and then move on with your life. Like there's an actual like very subtle like thing that happens when you gain good karma, and there's only a couple ways of getting it, and one of them is by sparing people, by turning action scenes into actual stealth scenes. And the other one is if you just hang around these guys and just let them talk. And that was like mind blowing the first time it happened. When you hear, I forget what they talk about. It's like something inane, and then they walk off, and you hear the thing of karma. It's like, oh wow, the game just rewarded me for just listening to these people, and that resonated with me far more than the sort of protracted. Do you allow this girl to live? Yes, no. Like, I'm going to say yes, sure. But I don't know. One of them felt more like a choice, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think you're. Oh, I see what I need to do. Fallout 1 and 2 retrospective did, I think, a good job of illustrating that concept, like how they do it in 1 and 2, where it's like you don't actually get any sort of karma points at all for doing things. You just get outcomes. Or did you get
Yeah.
the good outcome or the bad outcome? Well, that is ultimately up to you as to whether or not you think that outcome is a good outcome or bad outcome.
Yeah, like Fallout 1, 2, and New Vegas are games in which I've argued with friends about our decisions as which we thought was the right one, as opposed to Fallout 3, where you discuss whether or not you played the bad guy for fun that time. Because there's a far clearer good and evil split, and that makes it far less interesting. Someone asked, people are bringing up Ruby.
Oh, Ruby?
RWBY. Yeah, I pronounce it Ruby. I had a long ass video planned about that series, and then the creator went and died, and I felt really like bad. I didn't want to be hugely critical of a show right after the creator passed, so I thought I'd wait. But I think it's an interesting. It's a bad show. I don't like it at all, but it's interesting because it's a person who's very clearly inspired by anime, and it kind of represents the aesthetics of sort of shonen action tropes, completely unmoored from the thing that gave those things meaning. Like, my go-to example in the thing I wrote was Trigun, where like the weapons in the show are quite often religious themed or relate in some way to how the character approaches violence and that sort of thing. Like crafting, like pulling out the main character's second gun requires him to like blow off one of his arms, and he like contorts, and it's this like kind of horrific thing of his body twisting into a weapon. And like there's the cross that unfolds into a bunch of guns. Like there's religious imagery, and Ruby is a show in which all the characters have various cool weapons that they explain what they do and what they fold into, and it's a sniper rifle, and it's a scythe. It's so cool, and that coolness is prized above like, why does this character have a scythe? What is the meaning of this? And you can say, it's just a scythe. Scythes are cool, but that is the first time in anime where that actually is meaningless. Like previously, a character having a scythe, and there is a show. Is it called Soul Eater? I think, where the character has a scythe because there's a theme going on there.
Like at the very least, it's like, even if it's just going to be the most like ham-handed hack parallel ever, that it's like, oh, he's got a scythe because he is death. You know, like he is metaphorically death, and it's like, oh right, you actually this jump. Okay, I'm gonna complain about a lot of the fake difficulty that God of War likes to throw at you, where it's not even like intentional difficulty. It's just, okay, here we are at the throne of Lachesis. So the camera wants to show off this environment, and in particular call attention to this mise en scène. The problem is that this mise en scène runs exactly opposite the action that you need to do to effectively engage with it, because it's so low to the ground, it's so straight on that it's like you can't judge the distance of that jump, and that jump is actually like just at sort of the edge of how far Kratos can get with a full double jump wing combo. So if you just kind of take it casually and be like, oh sweet, I just need to jump across I fell down, and now all the effort that they put into crafting that mise en scène has been interrupted by you died, continue from last checkpoint.
I love the period of PS2 games where the creators of the game still had full control of the camera and they still fucked it up.
Yeah.
This happens a lot in like the Conker's Bad Fur Day, where they took away camera control, so they pointed it the way they wanted you to see it, and it would still fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you have to walk towards the camera to not die in Donkey Kong 64, and they planned this. Like, this is almost purposeful.
This happens. God of War Ascension is not good. Like, it's a B-team game, and it feels like a B-team game. Because there are a lot of times in that game where you end up like walking towards the camera in order to like accomplish very basic things. And I just wanted to switch my weapon there. And I'm trying to remember if I should be able to just like, oh wait, I'm invincible. I just need to Rage of the Gods. And she literally cannot hurt me. Or wait, no, she can still hurt me. What?
Wow. In retrospect,
Oh, her counterattack will hurt me. Okay,
there's
that's
something
it.
like beautiful about incredibly low res breasts. Like, there's something hilarious about the fact that that single tit made someone's day or was hugely scandalous at the time, and now it's like this is this horrible mass of pixels or this incredible
Yeah.
poor texture. There isn't even bump mapping, and
Oh,
it's like,
the
like wow.
funniest, like the best that reaches its absolute apex in Ghost of, or not Ghost of Sparta, Chains of Olympus.
Is that the PSP one?
That's one of the PSP ones, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
That's the first PSP one. But so it's like, okay, so you were on the PSP, watching this, and it's like you got your little 3-inch screen, and for no reason at all, like Eos, the Helios's sister,
Hmm.
for just no reason at all, you find her and she's shirtless.
Wow.
It is the most it is the single most pointless instance of nudity I think I have ever encountered in
And how many kilobytes would the textures have been? Like, it's wow. Video games are good sometimes.
do I need to okay, I think I need to reflect.
If they make an, did they already make an HD edition of God of War 2? Because if they did, they have to not upres that.
Oh, of God
It
of War
has to.
2? This is the HD edition of God of War 2.
This is the HD edition. Fuck. God. Excellent.
Uh
No, Evan, I asked how many kilobytes the texture was specifically. Also, way to avoid my joke about the bump mapping. But
there
so,
we
like,
go. That was
Ruby
it. Yeah.
is transgressive in a way that I feel is valueless. Uh, of like, here are the pretensions and tropes of the shonen thing, but completely unmoored from even the pretension of having any kind of value. It's the guy who made Dead Fantasy making his own anime, and it's not very good. I've heard the writing improved since he died and other people had to take over, and that's really, really sad.
That does feel just kind of like just
Like,
unfortunate.
Yeah,
It's like, it feels like you're speaking ill of a dead man.
yeah. I don't want to. I don't like that. That's a dark joke. Like, oh, his death improved the suit. Like, that's not a joke I want to make, and I don't want it to be accurate. Because that's
But that
just
is
really, really
kind of accurate.
Yeah, I remember there was a anime called Trinity Blood. I don't think it's based on a manga, and the art in it was fantastic. And it had this similar problem of like it didn't know what it was saying, and part of the problem was because the creator died while they were making it. That's a shame. Cuba, this isn't what we were still talking about. I went back to it for no reason because I'd run out of ways of expressing the hilarious amazement at the single tit. Like,
that didn't count. Oh, come on.
There's a God in Lisa. It's possible to acquire a nipple, and it is a single red pixel, and there's something horrific about it.
All right, do your straight attack. No, not that one. I did just die. All right. So that middle phase is kind of obnoxious because the only way to do it is to reflect her bolts back at her, but she has 3 different attacks that she can use. So
you have to wait for the right one.
You have to wait for that specific attack.
Also, she can damage you and you have cheats on.
There isn't actually technically an invincibility cheat. So the closest thing is Infinite Rage of the Gods, because when you're in Rage of the Gods, you're immune to most things, but you're
Right.
not technically. But you do. There are still things that can and will damage you.
I probably would hazard a guess that Spartan Total Warrior actually holds up better than the first couple of God of War games. I remember it being really good, and I hope that my memories don't betray me. But then again, it's been out. That's like 13 years, 12 years. So, oh no. The biggest.
Oh, hey, no, I can hit her in the air. Okay, we're gonna do that instead.
Nice. According to Dr. Keiki, the biggest roadblock to video games becoming art is people asking if video games are art. I think that's a fair point.
That's a yeah.
Yeah, I think there is a lot
If
of
we're
need
constantly
discussion over
having
ifs. Yeah.
yeah, because the conversation in and of itself undermines the answer. It's indicative of a lack of confidence. It's like if you have to keep asking like, am I a racist? The answer is probably yes.
Yeah, like Why I'm Not a Racist Part 37 is not a video that needs to be made.
Yeah.
This is a problem I see along in a lot of like leftist or like popular left leaning circles where the discussion has been forcibly shifted by the right so far away from the solution that it's made us look wishy-washy by comparison, where Jeremy Corbyn in my country is too busy putting out the fires of no, here's why immigration is good, and here's this thing, here's why it's good to care about stuff, that he can't stop and go, okay, look, here's what we're going to actually do, and that's a huge shame. Like, I don't know what politics are like in Canada. I assume bad.
Not quite as big of a mess as England or the U.S., but kind of heading there. We're actually so the position that Austria was in is kind of where we're at, where it's like, hey, technically the leadership at the moment is in a kind of okay-ish position, but you also got a bunch of Trump wannabes who are trying to do their thing. And fortunately, like the one major kind of saving grace we've got at the moment is that the next federal election isn't until like 2019. Like that we had one just recently, so, or I guess not recently, but like just like a year and a half ago.
I'm back. My internet broke again. My friend who actually introduced me to Monty, or at least like explained that was a person who did stuff, is apparently watching this and just got at me on Skype, talking about the weapons in Ruibi. And talking about part of the extra joke of them is that these are weapons made by like high schoolers, middle schoolers, in fact. And like by the characters diegetically, but also they were probably designed by Monty in middle school. Oh, why haven't I switched to night mode in YouTube gaming? Why haven't I full screened this stream? What is wrong with me?
There we go.
When I refreshed the stream, I briefly heard my own voice and thought, oh, fuck, that's how I sound this whole time? Great.
All right. I think this is just a phase transition. Yeah. I do have to say that like I liked a lot of the filter down concepts, or like the concepts from this era that wound up bleeding into a lot of other game design. So like this one, so God of War 2 takes a lot of cues from things that like were happening in MMOs like World of Warcraft at the time, and then Dungeons & Dragons 4th edition also took a lot of cues from that, and in fact advanced on it, and then God of War 2 took cues from that, and so you wound up with actually like I mean, that fight wasn't exactly one of them, but you wound up with a lot of really interesting boss fights in this stage. Like this is where the whole this is where multi-stage boss fights really kind of became a thing.
Yeah.
And I know that at this point, like that's just kind of the way things are, but it is kind of interesting, like to go back and look at games and be like, no, like that used to not be a thing. Like bosses used to just be a boss. Like it was one stage,
Hit him 3
often
times.
repeated for way longer than you ever wanted to.
Yeah. God, yeah. Bosses where they hit a point and it saves, so you don't have to fight that bit again. They're great. I love those. God, the bosses in some of the Devil May Cry games gone for so long. I wish they had more of those. Gosh.
I don't know what she's doing there.
I wish I was like, I'm supposedly working on a game, and one of the ideas I had to put aside because it would require extensive like online testing, and I don't know how to do that in Unity very well. Was a ship simulator where you're on a very very tiny ship, and it would be kind of a stream bait type game where every person playing had to be doing some intensive thing that relied on what other players were doing in the ship, and everything.
Kind of a riff on oh dang it, what's that mobile social game, like that party game that people like to play, where you're all there's this mobile game it's meant to be a party game, so like, you know, 4 other people, and you're all on the bridge of a spaceship, and you've all got just meaningless buttons on your screen, so it'll be like, you know, refragulate the widget.
I see. Wow. I haven't seen that, but that sounds pretty great.
Yeah, so but everybody has different commands on their screen, and so it'll pop up with a command on your screen that's not necessarily one you can actually do. So you need to like call out refragulate the widget, and then whoever has the refragulate button needs to refragulate.
Yeah, like my main inspiration is the board game Space Alert, which is like turn-based, and you program your turns ahead of time, and then it all goes off. And it's a game about firing a weapon and then waiting for someone somewhere else to reload it and realizing no one ever thought to. And like the idea of putting that into a real-time first-person game where everyone is running around on a tiny, tiny ship with like corridors that you can't walk past other players in seems really fun to me.
I'd like that. Yeah.
But testing that seems really hard because I don't know how to do an online in Unity. It sounds like a huge pain. But
I would really like a Star Trek Bridge Commander multiplayer game where you're all running a spaceship together.
Yeah.
And it's like you actually have your specialized jobs and like little mini games.
Like a ship the size of FTL, but in first person. And an idea I had in it was the elevators on the ship only go up or down based on buttons on the outside, so someone else has to send you up or call you up when you go to another floor, and otherwise you just have to take a really long set of stairs, and like everything would be time based, so you would be constantly in a rush to do something.
Yeah, I'd dig that. That'd be a lot of fun, but it would also, you're right, that would also be hell to actually test.
Yeah. So for now, I'm just going to make a ridiculously overambitious RPG. People are talking about Night in the Woods. I don't want any spoilers. I want to play Night in the Woods eventually.
All right, trapped her again.
Nice.
Okay, I think. Yeah, this phase of the fight's actually pretty good. It's kind of complicated. Okay, so you can knock her out of the fight temporarily by just hitting her, and then you've got to hit. You got to knock this sister down until she turns into a one of the little time bubbles that you can use to slow time,
Yeah.
because you need to slow time so that you can beat up the other sister enough.
Mm.
And I think you do it 3 times and she stays out. So we slow time, come over here, fight the camera a little bit. There we go. 2 mirror. Oh, no. I screwed up, actually, the first time I got it. I forgot to break the mirror. So we need to do that 2 more times. I didn't break the mirror fast enough, so so the first mirror that I got is I'm pretty sure if I go over to my right, that first mirror is still going to be in
I think
healthy
it's
condition.
there.
Yeah, because she's yeah.
God damn. God damn. Da, 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 da.
I ever dreamed of Sleepy Amy.
Sleepy Amy. Oh, Sleepy Amy.
I like
She's
the
kind of
footage
sitting there.
of your cat falling asleep in the end of the Drown for the Wheel video. The link is good. It's 10 minutes of cat.
10 minutes of cat.
It's good. It's a good trick. Tricking people into listening to your social justice warrior propaganda. Promises of a cat.
I love it. I actually, so Laura really likes this channel, Ants Canada. It's actually a really cool channel of like ant raising, and so the guy keeps ant farms, and he's been doing this for like years, and it's really cool and it's really fun. But I was watching a couple of them, and he had this thing where he's like, yeah, and for those of you who watch all the way to the end, there'll be a link to a hidden ant farm video where it'll just be like 15 minutes of ants, like, you know, eating a sugar cube or something. And I'm like,
Classical music.
yeah, with classical music. I'm like, that's actually a really good idea. I am going to just lift that whole, like, just straight up, because it's, you know, no one's got dibs on a good idea.
That's lovely. Yeah.
And yeah, so, and I think it's worked really well. And also, like, even just personally, like, it helps. I have so much trouble ending videos. Like, I always feel like the rhythm of my endings is off a lot of times, and so having that sort of formula to fall back on helps.
Yeah, it's neat. I think it's pretty successful. I have that same issue where I am now beholden to people. People pay me to make this. I need to have credits. And the credits need to thank a lot of people. So I now have to make sure I construct a video every month that is long enough that having credits wouldn't be a significant chunk of it.
Especially, like, yeah, you've got so many people who are at the, like, verbal thank you stage that if you made a 3-minute video, like if you did something like, what's that one that I just put out, setup and payoff, you know, it's only 5 minutes long. If you did that, it would be 7 minutes long, and 2 of those would just be thanking people.
Yeah, so I have to. My method I've gone with is I don't do credits in like really short ones if I know I'm going to do something big that month where I can thank everyone and be done with it and have it be good, or I plan the whole month ahead and make 3 and then split them across all 3. But that's never come off successfully because I take ages to make things. So it takes a lot of time. I put as much effort in as possible because there is this sense that if I debunk this badly, I'm letting down the side almost, and that's a weird thing, a weird position to be in. But and I will look back on that as a weird thing to think about. But for now, I just want to make the video right. So, So, you know, I went out and bought a bunch of ice cubes to pour on a printout of your face, and that's okay. Because one day the people hearing this will see the video and go, "Oh,
It's yeah. Is there a timeline? Should I even bother asking about a timeline? It'll be done when it's done.
I'm kind of hoping the next like 2 days. I'm just waiting on Lindsay doing some readings
Okay.
for it. Everyone else has gotten back to me, and it's just a case of making sure the editing's tight now. I'm
How
still
did
not quite
mine?
sure
How did my readings work out? Were they tonally right? I know I've done some for you in the past where I wound up watching it. And I'm like, oh, I took a completely different approach to everyone else, and I sound like the odd man out.
God, I felt the same way in ContraPoints' video he did recently. Like my readings are me reading it as me and reacting as I normally would, and everyone else is reading them as a character.
Yeah.
So I appreciated getting a reading that was like how I would have read them. So thank you. I also really like the way you read. Like you even though I just sent you the words as text over Twitter, you figured out what I was going for with the alpha male lives in his own reality comment,
Oh man.
which is an actual thing Roosh writes in his book.
That frickin' that one that you had on there about the meat tube.
Yeah,
I did that one like 5 times, and I sent you the two.
yeah.
Well, I think I sent you like a straight reading and then one where I just kind of like lost it.
Yeah. There's
So it's
a
like,
there's a part in Contra's takes where he fucks up a take and then says, "Don't use this." So I might use that. But it's going right. I'm still not quite sure how long it'll be. Just because it's such like a weird, long, disparate timeline, and there's so many bits I'm not sure I want to keep in or not. So I don't even have a time frame for how for this thing I know will be out in like 2 days. I don't even know if it'll be like 45 minutes or 20 minutes, but it's all.
oh, I just realized that this frickin' hallway. Okay, so when you've got Wrath of the Gods up, your combo timer basically lasts forever.
Yeah.
So we're up to like 1,300 hits.
Jesus Christ. There's a Night in the Woods seems like a really, really interesting game, and I can't wait to actually get around to playing it.
Yeah, people have been recommending it, so
There's
I'm-
a movie called Cthulhu, which I'm going to quickly check if that's what it's called. And it's not really set in the Cthulhu. Yeah, 2007, starring Tori
I forgot how
Spelling.
much this hallway sucked when you're just going through this game casually.
It's a movie about an openly gay guy going back to his family's weird cult because of a funeral or something, and there's very little Lovecraftian or even horror elements that are supernatural, and that's because the supernatural elements are entirely a manifestation of his feeling of being alienated in a place with a religion that doesn't accept him as a person. And I super liked that film, and no one else seemed to see it. It was a really low budget indie thing that I initially only watched because I was a big Lovecraft fan, even though it was completely unrelated. And I'm like, Night in the Woods seems weirdly accurate to that, and I'm super really glad that people are like starting to explore that as an idea, like the very, very personal ways that kind of story can manifest.
Existential horror on a personal level rather than a...
Yeah, like Lovecraft's biggest, I think Lovecraft's a good writer only in retrospect because he's been stolen from by people who've turned it into something far more interesting.
Yes.
In a way. I think Lovecraft gets worse with time once you read him. He was my favorite author for a week, and I was like, actually, this is really racist. And this is also really basic nihilism. And then you delve into the wealth of incredible art and writing based on his work and go, oh yeah, but these people saw the thing in it that I saw and made it into something. And then you get a good deal of Neil Gaiman stuff. Not to imply that he couldn't have come up with it on his own, but... And also then you get stuff like Bloodborne as well, which very much is quote unquote inspired, but does so much of its own thing that it would be wrong to dismiss it as just Lovecraftian.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna. Wait, she's in a good spot. So 1 sec.
You can move the cat over.
No, I'm gonna set up Amy Cam.
Oh yes.
The people demand Amy Cam.
Nice. Gotta set up the cat cam. Carla Rose says, H1 Grass students folding ideas. This is a new thing. Dan just messaged me a little while ago. Just asked if I wanted to do it, and I said sure. Don't think this is a normal thing, but it should be. It's pretty fun. Tristan McClellan asks, thoughts on Neil Gaiman? I like him. I think he's good.
But wait,
I
there's
think
more.
Is Amy okay? This is the most bewildered cat.
She's just kind of sleepy.
Oh, it's got little ears. Fuck. That's so cute. And this beautiful image is overlooking the most disgusting moment in God of War 2.
Oh no. Aw, okay.
Oh.
Nah, that's fine. If she wants to be up and about, she can be up and about.
Oh.
I already turned the camera.
Okay.
Oh.
Now let's
And it
just
may
repeat
was
yourself
super
again.
stick hoop.
I need to remind myself of what exactly I'm doing here. Okay, I think... okay. Yeah, you knock out the hands just so that you can open, like, the gates and stuff.
You still block instantaneously in this game, right?
Sorry?
Sorry, you still block instantaneously in this game, right?
Close. So it depends on what move you're in the middle of, whether or not you can actually, like, interrupt
Come on,
that into a block.
come on, Becky.
Most you can if you're standing still. Like if you're not in the middle of a move, then yes, you can block instantaneously and move canceling into a block, into an instant block, so that you can then so that you can parry is actually pretty critical to getting past the higher difficulties.
I am a fan of these games where you can cancel out an attack into doing something that saves you at that specific moment, like the dodge, or the block. Just because I don't like having to time my attacks and watch myself going to be hit because I can't undo the damage that I've done. If I wanted
It's
that, I would
actually-
play a Souls game.
That's actually one of my main complaints about Ascension, is that in Ascension they changed the entire blocking mechanic. Now, I was complaining earlier about them just kind of moving buttons around, but for the most part, like, the blocking mechanic has never changed. Like, it's been the same in all of the games, not because they're lazy, but because if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
And so now, not all of the games have had a parry, but all of the games have had blocking, and the blocking has worked the same, and the parrying, if it's had parrying, the parrying has worked the same.
Yeah.
And they changed it for Ascension, and it's kind of it's conceptually interesting in that it's like, hey, they're experimenting with, design, but it's also awful because it's worse than the normal system. So please don't.
Yeah, changing the blocking is a little bit different from changing the placement of a QuickTime event for a PSP version of a game. This... Wow. It's decisions like that that make me worry. God of War, it was big enough, even by the time of, 2, for them to know they shouldn't probably mess with that.
I think it was large, like in a lot of ways, I think it comes down to sort of where Ascension falls. You know, the response to God of War 3 and Ghost of Sparta.
Mm.
That, you know, they kind of knew that it's like, all right, this whole franchise is after this probably going to be shelved for a little bit. So hence why Ascension is it feels B team because it is B team, and in the same way, it's kind of like, hey, you know what? Like you can be a little bit experimental with this because no one's gonna play it except for the hardcore players. They're gonna forgive you because they've already played so much of this series that, you know, they'll gripe about it, but will already have their $60. So
You're almost up to 2,300 hits. That's disgusting.
this one's annoying. Okay, so what I've got to do here is I need to knock that hand out, quickly get up here, and then hit this switch. Frick.
The timing on this is tight enough that it actually is challenging, as
Yeah.
opposed to
Oh,
knock
if
the thing
you-
out and then walk over and press the thing, which is kind of appreciable. It's actual game.
Yeah, there is a timing bit coming up at the end of this puzzle that is absurdly tight. Like it's just this quick little traversal. But so, yeah, a lot of these bits, it's like, okay, if you miss the rope like I just did, you might as well not bother climbing it.
Can you keep hitting it and knock it straight back out again? Or does it just stay down?
Sometimes, not this one. I think I got it there.
Yeah.
Nope. Yeah, and so right now I'm just gonna kind of wait because I got trapped on the wrong side of the arm. And is that gonna be enough? There we go.
Someone just pointed out that they put dripping water on the chain so you can get under it easily. That's pretty smart. That's
Yeah, they
clever.
do. Generally speaking, like particularly in the main games, they have enough of those little polished touches that really let you know there's like, hey, this is actually a very expensive AAA game made by competent people.
Yeah. Here's a visual signifier for where the thing is. They're like, that's clever design that was still new by this point.
I'm trying to remember this arm if I need to go all the way back. But no, the blade's over there. Does this one need to be moved? Or do I just rush past this one? I think this one I just go past for now. All right, that's it. And then that's how I move this over.
Camera move. Yeah.
So the hardest adjustment to going to any of the other God of War games, or even back to the beginning of this one, is not having the Icarus wings.
Mm-hmm.
Because so the Icarus wings are what gives you gives you the glide at the end of a double jump.
Yeah.
And losing that, like that, it is so kind of core to how you get used to moving around everywhere, that if you go to one of the games that doesn't have it, it's just like, what am I doing? How do I get anywhere?
It's almost as big a loss as the fish costume,
Yeah.
which I assume is only in 2.
Yeah. Okay. So with the costumes, so the first one, so bunches of them have the funny costumes. The first one has a baker and a what has it got? It's got a baker and a cow.
Ah.
So you can dress, yeah, so a baker and a cow in the first one. The second one has the fish costume, which is clearly, hilarious and awesome. The third one only has one costume because then the rest were pre-order bonuses and DLC.
I'm now remembering all of the joke weapons in Prince of Persia Warrior Within. Teddy bear,
But,
white glove, flamingo, hockey stick. Jeez.
Then Chains of Olympus has a baked potato. So
Wow.
you're dressed as a baked potato wearing a tinfoil diaper.
That's really clever. What's it called?
Spud of War, I think.
Cod of War. I was thinking, what kind of thing of war was that going to be? That takes the cake of war. I keep throwing out references, and people keep going, "I haven't thought about that game in years." I feel bad. No one said they hadn't thought about Taya's Quest in years. That was a deep enough cut that.
That's going to be your be your fame maker.
Maybe. I was going to lead into it with a video about like the specific qualities of VHS and how it shaped perception of various movies for a generation, and then also a thing about Laserdisc, and then use that as the jumping off point for, well, there's this thing that. But I could just talk about the game. Like, I need to make a thing into a saga when the whole point is the thing.
I'm trying to remember how to get up.
2,476 hits.
Oh, right. It's this, I need...
That is almost a tenth as the amount of times I pretended to swing a sword for fun no one's around.
Well, a lot of those were multi-hits from casting spells as well.
Ah.
So...
God
Wait,
of
why are these
War
just bringing me
costume
bodies?
confirmed.
The bodies just give me life. Which I don't need because she can't hurt me. Or she can barely hurt me. And every time I knock her arm out, she gives me life orbs. Because I need to get those... Oh, wait, no. Oh, okay. I missed it. There is that tiny bit of climbable wall right there that you can use to get up here. And if it'll let me... There we go. I needed to use the strong attack.
God, I'm
All
falling
right,
asleep.
drop. What is it? It's 2 a.m.?
That's 3.
3 a.m. out there? You can You can peace out if you need to sleep.
Yeah, I might have to. I woke up at 4 a.m. this morning, so I just realized how late that means I've been awake. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go
You're
to
gonna
sleep.
tap out?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fine, man.
Yeah, cool. This has been fantastic. We should do something like this again.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah.
I usually stream at midnight your time. Uh,
Cool. How often do you stream nowadays?
oh, just Mondays.
Cool. I'll try and be around next Monday then. Sweet. Thanks for having me on, and thanks to everyone for putting up with me.
Thanks for coming out. I'm gonna. Yeah, you're gonna. You'll. I will tell you about this super intense timing next time. This jump. Actually, I can tell you right before you go. Okay, so basically
Oh, sure.
from here, you see that swirly gate up behind there? That's the Mirror of Fates. And so what ends up happening is you need to, like, once this fight is done, you need to pull the switch until that shows like Kratos' past and where you want to go. But then you need to run through this whole gauntlet to get there. And even if you do it like perfect, if you make the whole run just absolutely perfect, you're going to have at best 1 second of padding as you jump through the mirror. Like, and it actually gives you like a countdown timer as you do it too, so you know like just how tight it is.
That's. I mean, I kind of like games where there's like a really long timer for like a boat exploding, and then as soon as you get off the boat, it explodes. A game that actually cuts it fine enough that that's your only option is for the amazing like seconds to spare thing. That's cool, except for the part where you have to play it, which is the thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely should go sleep. This has been fun. I'll see you around, man. Have a
All
good
right.
night.
Take care, man.
Cool. How do I hang up this?
I can hold. Wait, who was saying you can hold E1 and talk simultaneously? E1. Oh. I think you were meaning that I can like actually like play the game and also talk simultaneously. I could have, but I didn't. And quick time event and into the face. And now I think I need to go investigate the mirror. Then I come back down and do the thing. And then go back up and jump through. And Amy, you're not allowed back there. Amy's trying to climb behind my monitors. All right. Down here. Up here. So this is a little run that you've got to make, is up around here until you get to the mirror. Unless it's the first. Oh right, yeah. We hit that switch, which then raises the threads, and we raise the threads. No, don't overwrite that. Wait, have I filled... Oh, I've only got 10 save slots. Alright. I don't know if we'll get to 3,000. We might. The thing is I just... Actually, wait. No, we've got a boss fight where we can probably get to 3,000. So this is the run that we need to make now, is that one, and we've got like 10 or 15 seconds to do it. Nope, not that one. I think it's this one. There we go. and we're going back and we're looking for the fight with Zeus. It'll just stop when we get to it. Though I think in oh, that don't. Oh no. Oh. So two things. One, I just realized. So I just finished saying how you've got like barely any time to do that, but you've got a little bit more time. You've got a little bit more padding because you can use the time slow to get you to the elevator, but we don't have enough time now because I just spent our entire combo meter. I just wait. I not only I feel bad now. Not only did I waste a bunch of time, I also wasted the combo meter because the command for so when you're in Rage of Sparta mode, the command for using the time things, the little time orbs, is the same command as burn up all of your combo meter on a giant whirlwind attack. Yeah, we can just actually. I wonder if I don't think reloading. I don't know. We can try. It'll only cost us a few seconds. We can try. I think it might not. Yeah, loom chamber. It might not work. Like we might not be in Rage of the Spartans permanently when we load, and it might have lost our combo. Yeah, that's what I suspected. Okay. It was worth checking. I'm sorry. There goes our 3,000 hit combo. We would have gotten another 500 red orbs for that. And this thread. All right. Tap that button. As we rewind through the game in low res pictures that just kind of vaguely remind you of like all the things that you've done, all the places you've been, all the people you've killed. Yeah, so using the time stop, it still only gets you to the elevator because using switches cancels time stop. It's one of the tricks that you need to keep in mind whenever you're solving a time stop puzzle. But it does give you a few more. You can make this run straight, but it's hard. You only get 1 second of padding. I discovered that when I loaded this up and hadn't played it in a few years, and I had that save game, so then save slot 1, I have that save that's like right at the very, very, very end of the game. And I had forgotten about the time slow mechanic and how to trigger it. And so I was just like, oh, well, I just need to do this and run. And it took me like 8 tries to get it in time because it's tight. But I got it. Okay, so now we went back in time, back to when Zeus was killing us, and we stepped out of a portal, and now we're like fully powered. And we're like, yo, bro, I got all my powers back. And don't kill me, bro. I haven't drained him into the sword. You can't stop me. And now we fight on top of a giant Quake symbol. It's actually an Omega, but it looks like the Quake 2 symbol. because it's kind of broken up. Zeus fight time. So the blade of Olympus is all the other weapons in this game. So there's only two weapons really worth considering: the blade of Olympus and the blades of Athena, because all of the others actually do just straight up suck. Now, the Blade of Olympus and the Blades of Athena are like they do have strategic uses that you want to use one in some cases and one in the other. In particular, the Blade of Olympus, the Sword of Olympus, is actually really good when like it does more damage. So it's actually what you want to use whenever you've got something that you want to kill ASAP, provided it's something that you can get into range with. The obvious advantage of the regular blades is that they have a much wider sweep, they've got much wider range, they've got a more diverse move set, their knockups are better. So you do end up using your basic blades for more things, but when you've got to like nuke down sirens or Medusa, then the Blade of Olympus is where it is at. It's also really good when you're working on a few of the challenges, like where you need to break enemies that have been turned to stone by a Medusa, because it only takes one hit from the sword, whereas it takes a number of hits from the regular blades. And I can't believe I could actually get stunned by that. I can believe it. I do believe it. It's very believable. I think I'm waiting, like he does his hand slam and then I like hit the hand. Yeah, there we go. Come on, grab it. QTE. And then I drain his power. Look at me. Look at me, flaming fish. You think you can stand before me? And this fight's actually like really hard and pretty challenging, and you usually need to care, but we don't care, because we can, even if he does just like a ridiculous amount of damage to us, we can still knock him into his next stage, where we get a full heal between stages. We can just do that fast enough. We don't need to block. We don't need to parry. We don't need to counter. We don't need to dodge. We just need to keep spamming square and vaguely pointing ourselves in the right direction. You know what? I'm going to hit triangle a couple times just to vary it. There we go. Now we take the sword back, and assuming I hit the right button. Alright, we'll go back to spamming triangle. Check it. Triangle moveset. Triangle. Triangle man. Don't care. Triangle man is also a lot harder to direct. So we'll go back to being square man. And we'll do the QTE properly this time. We could just keep cycling through this fight until we get to the like 3,000 hits that we wanted to get to, but that would actually take a really long time. Be really long. We do have infinite magic though. So like every time we do that, we get what? Another 20, so 59 to 90. So like 40-ish hits every time. So that's only going to take us a while. Oh, solid hit. Good work, Kratos. Oh, look, that thing's all tippy. I wonder what we need to do. Are we going to slam him with the terrain? War on architecture. War with architecture. Eat it, Zeus. Bam, it's a giant rock. Like, that matters because there are a couple moments in this, just these games in general, where it's a lot like Superman, where Superman just keeps, like, hitting people with like trucks and stuff. You know, Hulk is constantly like slamming people. There we go. That's art. The Hulk is constantly slamming people into buildings, even though it doesn't do anything. It's like it didn't work the last 20 times. It's not even slowing them down. Why would you keep doing it? It's not helping. Oh, oh, I I was looking at something. I I was looking at one of my other monitors and completely missed that. But I'm going to I want to record this is why, because this is hilarious in the fish costume. I want to record this whole cutscene in the fish costume. This is the best. Games are art. Alright, I will actually do the QTE this time. Wait, I hit that! What? Ah. There are a couple moments like this where it's like, okay, you have really not a whole lot of time to process the QTE, and the consequence for failure is watching a whole cutscene again. But we got it this time, and I'm recording. I really wish he stayed in costume for that. No, no, no. I've got the clean, high quality recording on the on the media recorder, the external recorder, so that I don't need to like extract it from a 4-hour stream. Also, what have you done, Kratos? Oh no, your frenemy, Athena, whose actually fault most of this is. It's really funny. His rage is totally like, I'm gonna kill Zeus because Zeus like betrayed me, but really it was Athena who like dicked him first. She's like, oh, Zap, you don't get to like run around and do all of your chaos stuff like you were planning on doing. You get to just be like a small man. And he's like, yeah, fine, I'll still wreck everything. And she's like, okay, well then I'll also make this Colossus come to life so that you need to like deal with it and you can't. And that was the whole setup that allowed Zeus to then be like, yo, Kratos, dump all your power into this sword. Haha, tricked you. Like, they were in cahoots. Come on, Kratos, you idiot. Wait, it wasn't Athena? But isn't Athena's a hawk? So now this is actually where everything kind of falls apart. Sort of. Well, yes and no. Okay, so we're in the loom chamber, and we have a time travel device. We just did time travel, and Athena's dead. But rather than going back like 20 minutes and undoing it, okay, I'll explain. I'll explain when we get around to the next bit. So we go back to the thread. All right, we're gonna rewind time, but we're gonna like really rewind time. Because Kratos has a plan. He's got a really bad plan, a really stupid plan. So his kind of not really friend, Athena, is now dead by his own hand, and his solution to this problem is to go back to the dawn of time, and you'll see. You'll see. Here we go. Jump through the mirror.
Oh, Amy cat.
Wait, what? What the heck? Where's the cutscene? What? Okay. Alright, I have no idea why it skipped the cutscene, so we'll just load this save game that is sitting right at the exact same point. So no fish costume, but it doesn't matter because he won't be wearing the costume in the cutscene anyway. Again. Oh, it also... Frick. It also turned off full window mode. Oh well. I don't feel like going into the options and fixing that right now. You get to watch it with a black border. Nope, can't use time stop after the elevator. Because you don't have line of sight on any of the time orbs. But it doesn't matter, we've got a good, like, 4 seconds, 6 seconds. There we go. So, Kratos goes back to the dawn of time and decides that the solution to his problem is to grab all of the Titans from the Great War at the forming of the universe. And, yeah. She's like, what are you doing here? I can't hear what she's saying, and I'm kind of talking over her. There's a whole bunch of dialogue here. I'm gonna turn it up just a little bit.
Zeus is weak. Ares and
How's
Athena
that?
are dead, and I wield the blade. We can win the Great War, but not in this time. Together, we will destroy the petty gods, and we will see Olympus crumble before us. Come with me, Gaia. Return to my time. Victory awaits. We have faced far worse than this one fallen mortal. But we are the gods. We whom the mortals worship. We who rule over this land. We who will not be
Jesus.
swept aside by this picture.
You're an asshole.
Brothers, put aside the petty grievances that have splintered us for so long. We will unite. We will stand together, and I will wipe out
No,
this planet.
no, he doesn't even bother trying to undo Athena's death. In fact, even better than trying to undo Athena's death, like the timeline here. Okay, so he decides to take the Titans. So he goes back in time and changes his own past, wherein he accidentally kills Athena, and decides that the solution to this problem is to go back to the dawn of time, recruit the Titans, take them back to the present where Athena is dead, and siege Olympus.
Zeus, your son has returned.
And so this is what H Bomber Guy was talking about earlier, how 3 is in many ways just the like protracted final fight of God of War 2, because really they could have condensed all of God of War 3 into another like 10 minutes of God of War 2, and it would be done. But instead it's another like 12 hours. It's another pretty long game. But so that's God of War 2. That's Cod of War. That's the Cod of War. I mean, Kratos probably was planning on killing Athena at some point anyway. I agree, because Kratos is a dick and he kills basically everyone else either directly or incidentally. Like I think the only god he comes across in 3 that he does not kill is Aphrodite, who he bangs her and then he leaves her in her room, and you never find out what happens to her, but like the world ends. So either she inherits the world, or she got like I don't know, crushed by a falling pillar or something. It's not explained. It's left completely unresolved. But yeah, that's kind of what sort of maybe might have happened. But we have an Amy. We have an Amy. I could let the credits roll. Actually, let's let the credits roll. Let's just put Amy Cam in the corner. We've got Amy Cam as we go through this. Yeah. I don't know. I was a little I was pretty chapped when I got to the end of this the first time I played, because it was 2009, so this game had already been out for 2 years by that point, and God of War 3 wouldn't be out for another almost like year and a half after this, because it was like early 2011. Yeah, early 2011. So it I just kind of was like, man, imagine playing this like when it came out, like opening weekend, like launch weekend. If you went and grabbed this and you spent all weekend like powering your way through God of War 2, and you get to the end and it's like just hard sequel bait for a sequel that wasn't coming for like another 4 years. God of War 3 is, it's a mixed bag. Mechanically, God of War 3 is actually one of the best in the series. No. Like its action is really tight. It's really tight action. It adds a bunch of really good changes to the systems. In particular, making Kratos a lot more mobile around the battlefield with a ranged grab attack that works really well, and I thought was just a great change at the time. The shake-up to the weapons, I still think I don't think they've ever really gotten the weapon system quite where they wanted it to be. But 3 probably comes closest, in that it's the one where you might actually conceivably want to like quick swap between them. Even then, there's 2 of them that you're basically never really going to seriously use. The weapons, but that's essentially parity with God of War 2. Like, you get the 4 different weapons, but the club and the spear you're never really going to seriously use. Like, you can use them, they're not awful, but they're also not terribly good. Their move sets aren't great, and they're not that rewarding to use. Like, they don't have a really good flow to the combat, and you don't have the quick swapping between moves. Like, you can't build inter-weapon combos, so that's kind of a problem. Or I shouldn't say that's a problem. That just means that it's like, all right, there's not really any sort of mastery to the weapon system. And yeah, so it's I think 3 kind of came closest to it. Ascension does something interesting with the world weapons, and that's not bad, but largely the problem there is that the world weapons just aren't very good, and that the overall combat in Ascension isn't terribly great. One of the major problems that they tend to run into with the weapon systems in God of War, actually, is that they'll introduce a weapon that is so hands down just better than all of the others that it becomes the only thing that you ever use. So they're all either off, like, they've had a really rough time, and God of War 3 kind of comes closest to this, is they've had a really rough time coming up with weapons that play differently, but still work within the framework of God of War's combat in a way that remains satisfying while still being actually like balanced. Chains of Olympus has the problem where like I was talking about this earlier, the fist of Zeus is just so much more powerful than the Blades of Chaos that it's kind of absurd to continue to use the Blades of Chaos when the Fist of Olympus will like 3-shot Cyclopses. It's like, all right, this is a little bit silly. But yeah, the God of War 3 has a lot of its problems come down to the fact that it is a full-length game for a thing that did not need to be full-length, and so that led to them injecting a lot of story into it and not really doing a terribly good job with that story. They also got ambitious in that they're like, oh, we're actually going to tie in all of the other little bits and bobs. We're actually going to make one of these games that has connections to all of the other games that we've made. We're going to pull in story threads and not just hammer this one singular thing of like, oh, Kratos accidentally killed his family because he was tricked by Ares and now he hates Zeus and revenge. It's still built on that foundation, but they're like, oh, we're actually going to explore other things like his brother and his actual relationship with like his daughter and his identity as a father. But then that's running hard against the game's other major theme, which is Kratos is an irredeemable dickbag and he does horrible, gruesome things, and we have rendered this all in intense, overly graphic HD, and all of the voice acting and facial tracking has been done to give this game just the most dour, angry, mean-spirited tone in video game history. And that right there is, I think, what was ultimately the deal breaker for a lot of people with God of War 3, is that it lost any remaining sense of fun. And I don't mean that in the abstract sense of like, oh, is the game fun to play? Because God of War 3 is often quite fun to play, but like it doesn't have a playful attitude at all. And you can see that in just the fact that like it's like, okay, what are the costume options in God of War 3? Like the 4 games, the 4 console games minus the handheld that were out at that point, or the 3 console games that were out at that point allowed you to play as a cow, a chef, a fish, and a baked potato. I mean, it takes a certain level of just taking the piss out of yourself to be able to do that to your game. And then God of War 3, and I can just, screw it, we'll just show this. So, I need these 2. Swapping discs. Oh yeah, Tycoonius, you could play as a businessman. Yeah, the baked potato, Lord Tyrion. So you could play as the Spud of War, which is a baked potato costume wearing a diaper made out of tinfoil. It's amazing. It's hilarious. But then we get into God of War 3 and Santa Monica Studios logo coming up. There we go. Wait for this. Yeah, chef costume is the first game. So, treasures, costumes. So here's our costume options. We have Kratos, which is the default costume that you play the game with, and we have Fear Kratos. These are our two options. There were a bunch of other costumes released, but they're only available. They were pre-order bonuses, like games like GameStop specific. I think it was like GameStop, Walmart, and Best Buy. You know, if you pre-ordered, then you got another costume, but they're all basically just variations on Kratos. Like they're remixes of Kratos's basic costume. So, like, this is it. Like in the default game, this is it. These were your options, and you know none of the pre-order ones are like have that kind of lighthearted tone to them. So why would you care? Like it started taking itself just way too seriously, and it had way too mean-spirited a tone. And you know, it doesn't help that like the opening of the game, like the first boss battle is really really violent. And I don't just say that in the abstract sense of like it's like, oh well, all of course it's violent, it's a God of War game, they're all violent. But generally speaking, that violence has been tempered by a lower resolution to it. You know, it is cartooned like it, because the older stuff wasn't really mocapped in the same way that the newer stuff was. So it's like they would do kind of like loose mocap to kind of get general sense of the animations, but then the animations would all be like directly molded by an animator. And so as an end result of that, you got animations that were cartooned, that had to conform to the ability of a animator sitting there with a simplified animation skeleton, you know, just tweaking the like 3 vertices in the hand in order to get it to actually behave the way that a hand kind of sort of maybe behaves. And that unreality takes a lot of the edge off. And God of War 3 goes into an intro in the first boss battle against Poseidon, ends with the camera rapidly switching between Kratos' point of view, a third-person point of view, and Poseidon's point of view, as Kratos like curb stomps Poseidon's face into the ground, and you're actually like in a first-person perspective. You're in Poseidon's perspective when Kratos like takes his thumbs and gouges Poseidon's eyes out, and this sequence goes on and on and on, and it's a level of, hey, look at us, we're extreme, that ends up crossing over into just straight up sadism. You know, and then, yeah, like the Helios decapitation is somewhere between, like, it's kind of cool in that, like, gruesome sort of, like, whoa, I can't believe they did that way, but at the same time, like, it's really unsettling. And the thing is I don't think they were I don't think we're going for that level of unsettling. I think they honestly, in the months and months and years of making the game, just really became kind of used to what it was and didn't realize the impact that it was going to have on the audience, that the jump between like even the most gruesome kills in God of War 2 and the ones in God of War 3, like moving from standard definition PS2 graphics into high definition textures, full body mocap, bump mapping, you know, the ability to actually like show skin stretching and tearing, to show like ligaments dangling, veins and all of this stuff. Like the increase in detail and complexity to it really does change the impact of it. Yeah, MK1 is a good thing to look back at. Like MK1 had a lot of conceptually really brutal kills, but at the same time, like the camera distance is so far away. The they're all just really kind of goofy and stupid. Like, okay, you freeze someone and then punch them in half. You like hit someone so hard their spine flies out of their body. Like, yeah. So the thing is, like, and I think the thing to go with is that, or the thing to keep in mind is, I don't think they were aiming for actually unsettling. I think the reaction they wanted was, whoa, I can't believe they did that. I really think that that was kind of where they were aiming for, that kind of very, 90s extreme image comics sort of like, we're being edgy sort of reaction, rather than aiming for like, hey, this is disruptive, this is unsettling, you are meant to not feel right about this. Because the thing is that the game then rarely ever and very poorly gets around to, adequately calling attention to, like, hey, Kratos, like, you're not just kind of a bad person, you're evil, you're cruel, you're not just on a quest for revenge, you're out to hurt people, and you don't care, and you relish in it. And so someone already mentioned it in the chat, and this would be the big moment to call out, is in, and maybe I've got a save game kind of near there. Three Judges Forge. No. That's near, but not very near, and that's all way after. Actually, that's also after. No, I don't have anything near it. So you go into Poseidon's realm, and he has a slave there, and you like move her through a series of puzzles, and then you use her. I don't want to say it out loud. It's really gross. But okay, so what you do, there's this big wheel that you need to turn, and it opens two gates. But then the gates close too fast for you to actually get through the second gate before it closes. So you bring her around to the wheel, and you use her to prop it open. And you've done something similar to this a number of times in the previous games, and also actually in this game, where you've got these kind of wheels, they've got handles, and you need something to kind of prop it up so that it'll stop spinning. And in the previous times you've done this, you're using like a crate or a block or a statue or something like this. And so in this time, you go get this woman, and you bring her, and Kratos props her up in, holding this wheel, and then you dodge through the gate, and you hear screaming, crunch, 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 crunch. And if you go back, there's like all the parts of her dismembered body, like jamming up the wheel. And when you do this for the first time, now this is a PS3 game, so trophies were in fact a launch feature, or this was a mid PS3 game, so this was after trophies were made a mandatory feature of all the games. So this was a launch feature. If you do this, you get this achievement. So, crunch, 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 ding. I didn't do it, but I wish I did. And it's like, it is truly just an awful, awful moment in video game history. So what am I thinking for? I think with God of War 4 or God of War 2017, I think we're going to see a much, 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 much different direction for the tone of the game, for the intensity of the game, and just the overall like texture of it. I would expect something much closer to The Last of Us. You know, it's still going to be an M-rated game, but I think it's going to be. I would hope actually that it's going to be just a little bit more emotionally mature. I mean, if I were going to say anything, like if I were to pick, I would say that after 3 and Ascension, God of War really needed to go one of two directions. Either it needed to go back towards cartoonish and silly and needed to just get a lot more lighthearted with like, hey, we're just going to be kind of this like, you know, schlocky action, hack and slash your way through a pantheon of gods, doing just kind of stupid, silly garbage with a laughable character. Or it needed to grow up, and I think they went the grow up direction. And I particularly with a child as a central, like with a father child interaction being central to both the story and the mechanics, I really don't see them indulging in the same kinds of sadism that they did in God of War 3. And to back that up, I would actually point to Ascension. That even with Ascension, you already saw them, pulling back a lot in terms of that sort of characterization and the directions that they were going with it. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good thing to point through, and it was actually the thing that stood out to me the most when I was playing through Ascension was that it's like they really, you could kind of get this palpable sense that they were recoiling a little bit from sort of the worst indulgences of God of War 3. And it was like, hey, let's try and capture a little bit more of the tone of 1 and 2 with even our more gruesome kills. And they do have a lot of like really weird and like, intentionally gross stuff in 3 or in Ascension. Ascension goes into a lot of like body horror territory, but even with that, like just the fact that it's cast in this frame that is a lot more towards body horror, that really does help set the tone a lot better, and helps kind of ease into things, just make it feel a little bit more cohesive, a little bit less just mean, less violent. Oh right, that was one of the things that I was talking about. And I was going to say that God of War 3 is violent, and I don't just mean that in the sense of like, oh well, it is violence. I mean that in the same sense that like you watch a movie like Apocalypto, and even if the like actions and immediate sort of images in Apocalypto are not, any more extreme than what you've seen in a slasher film, there is a tone element to it that adds a spiritual violence to what is being put on screen, adds that meanness to it that really does change the impact on the audience. So that's kind of really what I'm saying there is I think God of War 3 falls into that same sort of category of violence as Apocalypto, where it's not just cinematic violence. It really does kind of seem like someone is working through a all too real sadism in it, and that's being passed on to the audience. So at least that's my take. That and a lot of that is being carried over from like my first impressions when the game initially came out, and the environment into which it came out. I think as we've gotten more used to HD graphics, I think if you go back now, it's going to have a little bit less of an impact just because the disparity in the resolution of what you're being presented with is not as great. Like, it's not as big of a difference as a lot of the other things, so it feels a little bit more like just kind of a step up from The Last of Us rather than being this huge leap from God of War 2. Please play off. What's off? I don't know. Is that an acronym or is that an actual game?
You should make Amy Cam full screen.
I could make Amy Cam full screen. It's Amy. Amy. Off is an RPG Maker game, a surreal French game that got popular on Tumblr. Tumblr. Well, someone tweet a link at me. That'll I will be more likely to remember the link. She is so absurdly soft. Amy, I feel like I'm bragging about my cat, but Amy is just absurdly soft. Also, I just kicked a pen that was on the floor, and that's why she woke up, and she might come over to investigate, or she might roll over and resettle. There we go. She's a little bit alert now because I kicked the pen. There was something. Oh, right. I remember what I was going to. So I need to go grab them. I need to take my headphones off and just go grab something. So, coming up in the future, and alright, Amy Cam is going to have to become regular Cam because I want to show these. So, one sec here. Hey, it's regular Cam, as I dick around with lenses real quick. All right, so people were asking what's in the future, what's coming up, and so oh boy, do I have quite the things. So this one was mentioned. We mentioned this last week as a thing that we will definitely get around to. I was able to, for the exorbitant price of $5. I was able to find a copy of Dante's Inferno Divine Edition. This game is, it's so bad. It's really bad. Like, not only is it just kind of hilariously over melodramatic, it also is mechanically very broken. In that one of the skill trees that you can go down just completely negates any challenge in the game, because you gain a ranged attack that you can spam infinitely for not very much damage, but it does enough stagger that it will kill anything eventually. And so you can spend about half the game just tapping the circle button forever, and that will take you all the way to the final boss, which is bad because then the final boss is like the one thing that you can't actually just beat with this strategy, and you haven't learned how to actually play the game because you've just been spamming circle for the last 5 hours. So this one's coming up. Yeah, the good guy skill tree. Then something that I'm just going to kind of dick around with a little bit because I grabbed this one because it will be necessary to complete the Kratos retrospective, but PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. Hey everybody, you remember when PlayStation wanted their own version of Smash Brothers, and they had to draw on rich properties like the Hellgas from that one game no one remembers the name of. Remember the Hellgas? Everybody remembers. You can fight as a Hellgat. You can play as that raccoon or Fat Princess or Nathan Drake. We got Kratos. I got Sackboy. You can be Sackboy. And then looking forward to the summer. I'm gonna be spending basically the summer looking at video game movies and movie video games. And to that end, we have Wanted, Weapons of Fate, which I have heard is actually not that awful. A bunch of people were saying that this one's actually not that awful, but it is short. Like, I was standing in the store and I made a bet with Steve that this game, I am willing to bet that this game is like 4 hours long. Like, just everything about it tells me that this is a game that is going to be like 4 hours long. But apparently it's not that bad, though the movie that it's based on is awful. I hate that movie so much. I'm trying to think of what direction to reveal these that will be the most satisfying. All right, I think then we also have another classic. We have Battleship, the game, the movie, the game, which is a shooter. It's a shooter game based on the Battleship movie, based on the Battleship board game. Wanted is awful. It's not a good movie. It's a bad movie. James McAvoy tricks you into thinking that it's a better movie than it is. If they had anyone other than James McAvoy, like if they had someone with even like a hair less charisma than James McAvoy, you would realize that Wanted is actually an awful movie and that it's an ugly, soulless piece of crap. I hate that movie so much. And the reason why I hate that movie, the reason why I hate Wanted so much is purely because of like the last 30 seconds. That you go through what is otherwise a fairly schlocky, action film about dumb, unrealistic assassins doing stupid, dumb, unrealistic assassin stuff. And then the last 30 seconds of the movie spends its time insulting you because you watched it. It's basically going like, hey, look at you moron, you idiot, you stupid, lazy piece of garbage, you speck of human detritus. You are the person who is dumb enough, stupid enough, and lazy enough that you just spent 2 hours of your life watching me. You should feel awful about yourself, you moron. And I was like, no, you were a stupid movie, and you do not get to judge me. So yeah, that's why I hate Wanted. Then next up, after Battleship, the game, the movie, the game, is this one's going to be amazing, and I might need to actually like borrow a PlayStation Move for it. I don't think I need a Move, but it is Move compatible, and it is Men in Black Alien Crisis. Suit up as the newest MIB recruit to eliminate the scum of the universe. Infeliz la Bête Noire, en tant que plus récente recrue pour éliminer la raciale de l'univers. My French is awful. I hope vous étiez les premiers, le dernier et le sur la ligne de défense. And last but not least, and by last I mean I'm definitely probably going to try and acquire a few more of these before June, but last but not least in the current pile is James Cameron's Avatar, the game, Le Jeu. And enter the world, ignite the war. It's Ubisoft. Ubisoft made this. It's made by a real game company. Technically. On the back, the kerning's all messed up. So there's a bunch of words, like there's a whole bunch of typos actually in all of this text that you can't read. So like enter an unseen world in James Cameron's Avatar, but there's no space between in and James. It's a typo. No one spell checked this. No one noticed that line in InDesign had little squiggly marks under it. And they sent it to the printers anyway, because nobody cared, because it's Avatar the game. So summer, I'm gonna see what else I can find. I'm gonna see what else I can find for movies, for video game movies. I know there's more out there. I needed to, and I know there's worse ones. I know there's gonna be. We gotta track down Green Lantern, the movie, the game. Isn't there a Hulk one? Like Prototype was originally a game about the Hulk, or it's the other way around. It was originally a game. Yeah, so they made a movie tie-in game about the Hulk, and then they used that as the groundwork for making Prototype. And now Prototype is not particularly amazing in and of itself, but then you go back to the Hulk game, and it's a first draft of, yeah. So there's a bunch. There's bunches, and I'm trying to decide exactly how far back I want to go with that. Because I'm trying to, because the further back you go into movie tie-ins, and we're not gonna go so far back that we're at like E.T. Because E.T. is also like really overdone as a subject. They made an entire movie. They've made 2 movies about it. They made a documentary and a bad crowdsourced comedy about E.T. the game. So not going that far back, but there is a long, rich history of video game tie-ins, and yeah. But now here's the thing, and I need to grab copies of these, but people in the chat who are like, hey, yo, dude, like, no, stop. Why are you doing this? These are all going to be awful. There will also be the 2 Riddick games. So Escape from Butcher Bay and Dark Athena that will help smooth this over, because those are legitimately really good games. So now, Street Fighter, the game, the movie, we actually have access to a copy of it on Saturn. Steve has a copy of Street Fighter, the game, the movie, the game on Sega Saturn, and we were actually playing that. That was actually the moment that I got this idea. Is we were at his place hanging out and doing Kara's computer build. For those of you who follow on Twitter, when we were doing that computer build, we were also playing Street Fighter, the game, the movie, the game, and so yes, we do have that one available. Enter the Matrix is sitting right over there. Yeah. And I'm trying to think of what else. I'm trying to think of what else might be coming up in there. But yeah, so planning ahead to that. That's gonna be a few months out. I'm kind of laying the groundwork on that. I need to, in the near future, finish up the 10 Cloverfield Lane video, because people have been asking for a video about good editing, and so a full-on 10 Cloverfield Lane breakdown, which is also going to include a very spirited defense of the ending. In fact, that's the hook that I've written into the beginning, is that the final segment will be a spirited defense of the ending, so you'll need to watch to the end of the video if you want to see the spirited defense. And I drop a whole bunch of games that aren't worth holding on to. This God of War stuff that I am working on, which I'm still trying to decide the actual final form of. My gut actually wants to go kind of all out and try and make it into a big, sprawling Noah Caldwell-Gervais style full-on retrospective, but I think for the sheer sake of sanity, I should actually break it up into like 3 parts. Also, one of the things that I'm kind of worried about is that parts of a video retrospective on God of War should really be age-gated. Which, yeah. So I think I might have to break it up just purely so that I can age-gate the segments that need to be age-gated. Otherwise, I'll get my YouTube channel deleted. And yeah, so those are and the Patreon. The Patreon statistics analysis is still on the table and is eventually coming. So those are the three upcoming bigger videos that are on the plate, and there will probably also be a couple last minute, like 5-minute things along the lines of this week's video interspersed in there, just to kind of keep the content coming. And yeah, so that's a look at the future, and here is a look at a kitty. So, everybody, from me and a sleepy kitty, thanks for coming out tonight. Thanks for hanging out. All right. Say goodnight, Amy. Close enough. Take care, everybody.